Hey, welcome back to the Metropole Grid. My name is Andre. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's the 26th of November, 2024. It was meant to snow today. It didn't. It's just like gray and rainy out. My partner is massively upset about it. Or just disappointed. I'm not angry. I'm disappointed, you know? It's nearly winter. It's getting dark way too early. How's everyone doing? Yeah, same weather? Yeah, stuff sucks. Yo, actually, I went to the IKEA yesterday and we got a chocolate bar that came from Finland. It was called like Phaser something. I looked it up and the guy had a Wikipedia article. He was a chocolatier, an entrepreneur, and something else. Do you know who I'm talking about? I'm pretty sure his name was Phaser. Let me know. I didn't have any. Maddie said it was okay. It's Phaser. Okay, it is. So you know. All right. Very good. Very good. Is it like Finnish Pride chocolate or is it like, whatever, we have this. You can have it too. High quality stuff? Well, it's pretty affordable at the IKEA locally. Well, I'm glad that that's the good stuff we got. Also, Aku, how's it going? Hey, my wife says hello as well. Hey, hello, Aku. Hello, Aku's wife. How's it going on a nice Tuesday? Hey, Grendel, how's it going? Good morning, everyone. How you doing? I mean, it's like Nando's, like chicken. Nando's chicken. Is that Finnish? I thought that was from the UK. Rainy Tuesday here too. Looks like snow on Turkey Day. Yeah, it's American Thanksgiving this week. I think that starts technically on Wednesday or Thursday. I don't know. I'm a Canadian for what it's worth. We have our Thanksgiving like a month and a half ago. It seems like American Thanksgiving is really late this year. It's normally a bit earlier. I think it's like the fourth Thursday. There's some rule of where they cut it in, but I imagine a lot of people have either parts of this week off. So Thursday stream might be a bit quiet, but that's quite okay. Oh, we got a lot of news to go through today. I think we might just start at the top. Stab Tabby Metro stream tonight. Let's go. Yo, welcome to the stream. Yeah, hey Utati. It's time. It's some sort of net-based runner. How you doing? I've been playing Ghost Runner 2 specifically. This is a sequel to a video game that Ghost Runner 1 I've already played. I have Whiteblade on my Steam friends list, so it's basically me and him competing. He's already played the game a while ago, so like I don't think he knows he's competing with me. It's neat. It's like an 3D action game platformer. It's everything like instant kills you, so it's all about reacting and jumping and moving on stuff in a very, very quick way. I've been finding it kind of frustrating. I really like the first Ghost Runner, but this Ghost Runner, it just feels like there's a weird lack of polish in some ways, and I think a lot of it is just like things that should have audio cues do not have audio cues. Like almost all the enemies one-hit kill you, and a whole bunch of enemies just don't make sound. And I don't know if there's a problem on my end, but it's like a high movement shooter. I don't know if anyone's played this. Not even a shooter. Sorry, you have like a sword. You're a ninja. It's really cool too because it's like very cyberpunk in a obvious Netrunner way. And some of the characters use terms that we use in Netrunner. Like somebody talked about people face checking into their securities, and I was like, wait, that's kind of sick. That's kind of sick. Ghost Runner's somehow way more whack than 1. I don't get it. What do you mean, Xu? The high end of normal chocolate. Anyways, I've been getting into that. I think that's the based running. Kaku Rainbow gutted that Tuesday nights are London Netrunner meetups, and I missed the stream. But yeah, you also got a friend to the game coming along today. Hope you have a great stream. Thank you so much. Enjoy your local meetups. They're really, really fun and important to come out, which is great. Ghost Runner 2 is a way more whack. Yeah, there's like motorcycle sections. I just finished like the huge outdoor section, which is like an open world, like soft open world, right? Like there's multiple paths. It's not really open world on a motorcycle. And I honestly don't think the motorcycle was that fun. I feel like I'm enjoying Ghost Runner 1 more than 2. And I played 1 a long time ago. We'll see if I change my mind on that. But I have rage quit. Like I've just played some levels where I keep dying over it again to like one-shot stuff that makes no sound. And I get really frustrated. But that's maybe a personal problem. Cool. This week, there's a lot going on. The deck list of the week is finally Arzon's Worlds list. It's a really great list. It's a really thoughtful write-up too. It's talking about like taking care of yourself specifically, and there's a whole bunch of shout-outs. We're going to be playing this on Thursday. And in fact, not this weekend, but probably next weekend too. We might do a live stream that's going to have Alex and D join, and which we're going to go over, maybe, again, this is not guaranteed yet, but we'll be going over the finals replay video and basically hearing from their point of view what they thought and talking through the match, which is something that Alex specifically wanted to do and I think sounds really, really quite fun. So that's something that we might do live. It'll be on a weekend and not this weekend, I believe the next weekend. So the first weekend of December. I'll let you know closer to that if that comes up, but I'm looking forward to that. Otherwise, we will play this on Thursday because this is a hella sick deck. If you like Ghost Runner, you should try Lovely Planet. It's a one-shot kill FPS too. Lovely Planet? Gun Ballet. This looks nothing like I thought it would. This looks more like a Katamari game. But this does look like, yeah, single hit. One shot. Okay, I'll check that out. Thank you, Taddy. That's a really interesting art style. Very much Katamari style in my head. I know I've enjoyed a lot of the more hardcore one-shot die stuff, like Hotline Miami games, Ape Out, Oxto, I think one of them is called. I don't know, they're pretty fun. Like I like Twitch reflex based stuff. Is standard completely made of NSG sets now? No, Nerdo, how's it going? It won't be until next year. And even then, technically asterisk, but as of right now, standard is the last 7 years of product. And so that includes about 3 Fantasy Flight Games products. So 2 entire cycles, Red Sands and Katara, Rain and Reverie, the final deluxe expansion they put out. And then in theory, the Magnum Opus cards, which technically Null Signal Games has reprinted. Also, System Update 2021 is a set that is pretty integral to stand-up and startup, and it is all reprints of FFG cards. So while this is the Ice Carver that Null Signal Games has reprinted and put their own art and own formatting on, this is originally a card that came out back in, I want to say 2013. Oh no, 2012 was the original core set. Of course it was. As of next year, when Dawn comes out, which is the product that we're all waiting on, it should come out in Q1 of, again, next year. When that happens, all of the Null Signal Games cards, all of the Fantasy Flight Games from Standard will rotate out. So the format will actually get substantially smaller for the first time in a really long time. And then all the cards will technically be NSG cards. So System Update will also rotate out as well. Now, there's only a small asterisk there because there are a couple cards that are reprints of cards that Fantasy Flight Games originally put out. So Self-Modifying Code originally came out in 2012, 2013 in Creation and Control, but it was also just directly reprinted in the Ashes cycle. And the Ashes cycle is still going to be legal next year. So there's like 3 or 4, maybe 5 cards that are technically still FFG cards that exist in NSG products next year that will still be legal. So there's a small asterisk there, but largely, yeah, all the like big sets of FFG blocks are all going to be rotated out next year. It's a pretty exciting time, both because it's going to be a massive meta shift, and I think that does cause some apprehension and some excitement for a lot of folks. But while it's very important to understand that proxies are allowed at all levels of organized play, so if you're trying to play a deck at an event, even if it's a local, even if it's a world championship, and you're missing like, oh, there's one really cool card from the Katara cycle that came out in 2018 that's been out of print for like 7 years, you can just proxy it, right? Like you're always allowed to do that. I'm aware that like is a bit of a pain, but all the FFG stuff will rotate out next year early on. Regarding the decklist of the week, is there a reason it's no longer legal? I couldn't figure out why Netrunner DB was giving that message. It says it's not legal? Huh. Coke, I don't know why that would be. It seems legal. What does it say? It seems entirely legal. Standard ban list active. No, it looks good. Like when you copied it into your own deck list, was it something strange? I started watching you again, got busy with other stuff, realizing how much I missed Netrunner. Oh, Nerdo, it's like been really great. Netrunner is in a really great spot right now. Even with the old FFG cards, if you played back in the day. And again, proxies are legal, so it's very easy to get into any level of play. Also, what's really cool too, if you want to dive in already a bit sooner, is most decks are almost like 80 to 90% NSG cards already. So like this is the deck list that won Worlds, and I'm sure that this one's going to be maybe a bit of an interesting data point. But if we go to like actions, excuse me, if we go to actions and we go set by set, this deck has 4 cards from, well, not even. Oh, this is why it's illegal. It's illegal because this daily cast is from Creation and Control. I think we found it out why Coke it's illegal, is that this is the daily cast and self-modifying code from Creation and Control. So if you update these and just say that these are not these versions of daily cast and self-modifying code, it'll become a legal deck. But my point is that if you build this deck that won Worlds, it's only containing 2 FFG cards and then 48 Null Signal Games cards, right? So if it seems like, oh, I'm missing 3 cycles of FFG cards, I don't want to dive into standard, it's usually not the case. It's usually you only have to proxy like a handful of cards. Generally, on average, Null Signal Games sets have more consistent cards that see more play, and FFG sets have a wider range of power level. So there's a lot of cards in FFG time that see no competitive or organized play because they're just not great. Just because some cards, hey Bear, are the old versions of FFG, but it's all legal. Yeah, that's exactly it. So SMC, Daily Cast, these have versions that are standard legal. I don't know why Alex didn't pick them. Yeah. Oh, Cold Lava, by the way, I should have done this off stream. I forgot, but I can confirm for the 15th, if that's good with you. Isn't it just power creep then? No, not really, Gary. So I have a pretty strong take on power creep. I don't think this is a very original take, but let's look at what's a good example of a terrible card? Okay, hold on. There must be a good example in here of something like this. Okay, whatever. Point being, there's a lot of really bad cards, right? So this is a very old card. This came out in 2012. So it's like, welcome to the first cycle of Netrunner. It's a really bad card. It doesn't see any play. It never saw any play. Power creeping over a card that sees no play is not power creep. To me, that's just like the people realize they made a mistake. Now, if there's a card that sees a lot of play back in the day, so like Daily Cast saw a lot of play when it came out in 2012 in Creation and Control, and if No Signal Games just printed a strictly better Daily Cast, sorry, 2013, then that would be power creep. Because power creep is only considered power creep if you're creeping over the average playability, right? If you take a terrible card that sees no play and then make that card playable, that's not considered power creep. That's you making the game more reasonable, right? Like Cortez Chip saw no play. Choose a piece of ice. That ice may pay 2 credits additional cost to res the ice until the end of the turn. This card saw literally 0 play because it just wasn't worth anything. And then many years later, FFG released Hernando Cortez, the guy who made the chip, and this card saw some amount of play. It's obviously a much more powerful card, but I wouldn't worry about the game as power creeping on the basis that this card is just a better version of a card that saw no play. Now, if there's an even better Hernando Cortez and Cortez already didn't actually see that much play, then I would be concerned about it. Overall, though, I do think the null signal games cards, there are cards in null signal games that are on average and even more powerful than some of the most powerful FFG cards. But also some of the FFG cards back in the day were more powerful than anything we've seen ever, right? Like things like Account Siphon, very, 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 very powerful card. And this was in the core set, so everyone had it. Desperado, right? Like how many consoles have we had since Desperado that are just Desperado but worse because Desperado is too good, right? Like no one's printed a better Desperado, and that's power creep, right? Try not to. Trick shot, terrible card, SMH. Hi, Andre. Hey, Carrie. This feels early. Not normally off on Tuesdays to normally catch the VOD. Hope everyone's doing well. Hey, Bloody Mutt. Yeah, we're just about on time. Hopefully you're doing well. Tuesday afternoons are a bit relaxed. We usually stream for like 4 hours on Tuesdays, which is quite nice. Fernando making a Nancy to 11 was wild. Like Reza Endless Eula for like 12 credits. Like it was pretty nonsense. But Hernando for a while just like felt pretty good at the times of like Palana and people having money. Like there was a lot of ice, especially when it was like some of the bigger ice. And I think Jinteki was the worst culprit for this, where it was like, oh, you want to res your Chiashi? It's like 16 credits. It's like, oh, ooh, that's not good. Or sorry, 15 credits. Do you want to res your DNA tracker for 11? Like I feel like the Jinteki matchup Fernando Cortez felt so good. Cheap viewers on? I don't understand how none of those words are targeted by a ban list, but I'll just go ahead and ban. 1 second. Evening all. Hey, Matt, how's it going? Yo, I still have to work on your replay. I think I'm going to weave that in between the next couple videos because it's a fun replay. How you doing? Thanks again for sending it over. It's banned on the YouTube side at least. Got him. All right. A lot of new stuff to go over today. I think we're going to go over some of it just at the top here. Pretty exciting stuff. One of them is just like a tangent that we have to kind of just do, right? First thing, Null Signal Games put out just this afternoon. NSG Netrunner tokens. This is huge. I think people were really excited to see NSG Netrunner tokens because that is one of the weird things that when you buy System Gateway, you don't get any tokens. Now, I'm a big proponent of just buying dice in general. Most of the games that I play, I use dice, and dice just mean that you don't have to have all these bespoke tokens. Like when I play Marvel Champions, I almost exclusively only use dice because it's just so much easier, and I have color-coded dice for that. But this is really, really good for the game that now that you get in the game, you can also buy tokens as well. I don't think these are going to come pre-packaged with System Gateway. If it does, it increases the price. I'm okay with the price coming down and things being more accessible. But these are quite nice. These are really fun tokens. They're cardboard punch-out tokens, just like the original Netrunner tokens, which are, I think, have a pretty dear spot in a lot of people's hearts. And they're quite clean. Single credit, 5 credit piece, so no 2s or 3s. There's bad publicity and tag. I think you see everything here in the quantities of it. These are all designed by in-house, I forget their name, Kelly, in-house graphic designer Kelly, and the team have been working hard on bringing these to fruition over the summer. So the idea is we have virus tokens, which are in a strange shape, a virus shape. There's 15 of those. That's pretty fun. Generic counters for whatever pleases you. Core damage that's a fun one to get a new symbol on, and tags. That's also really nice. I think I did in my videos when I had a tag counter, I made it a radar as well. And I don't think I've seen other people do radar scans. And I was like, does this make sense? And I'm so glad that NSG also did a radar scan as well. So that's fantastic. Bad publicity and flipping it over to make it spent. A lot of times that you get bad publicity on the backside was a tag token. So this now that you can use be very obvious that you've spent your bad publicity for the run. I think that's quite sick. Clicks with 2 different colored sides is fantastic to make that you spent it, and then credits and advancements. I think the back of the 5 credits is probably still a 5 credit, considering they're not showing it. I don't think the back of it is like a mega advancement, because that doesn't make a lot of sense. But overall, these are quite charming. I think they're really, really quite nice. Now, they're going to be coming on big punchboard sheets, probably multiple sheets, and considering we're seeing this, and then the back explains what they are. Cost and shipping is 15 USD. That's like 22 Canadian dollars. Our economy is now falling apart, which is like technically, I guess, a bit expensive, but I think this includes shipping, which is quite nice. The idea that when you buy a board game, how much do you think of that board game's cost is the tokens? Is it about $15? I don't know, probably. At the end of the day, though, I think that's quite great. And if you want to pay $15 to get tokens that you're going to be using forever, I think that's a really nice spot. Now, these are not in sale yet. Stock arrives at January 2025. For EU customers, the store has always been a bit of a mess, and I know they're sorting that out. Obviously, they are, because that has not been doing great, but the store should be online in the new year, which is fantastic. In the UK, these will be available at netrunnercards.co.uk. Early prototypes are at PAX West, which was already happened. That was on the 30th of August. And the design is from Kelly and John. I believe John is the remix, right? Have started working these back in September of last year, and they've gone through many iterations. I think these look really, really quite nice. Def cupping those. Shame about the Canada Post strike. Yeah, in Canada, our post has been on strike. So Canada Post is like the official federal post system. They've been on strike for about, I think it's been like 14 days so far. It's not great, obviously. Now, they're striking because their wages suck, and they have a lot of other demands. I want to be very clear. I stand by their strike. Like, I do think they should be getting what they're asking for. Livable wage is definitely just a starting point, but they have a lot of other interesting demands. Like, they want to work on the weekends just because they are losing competition to other delivery services, and they don't want that to be the case, which I think is fascinating. But we haven't had mail in a long time. So if you order from the store, the No Single Game Store in Canada, you don't get product. Currently, because in Canada, at least, things are on strike. Obviously, with like Christmas coming up and people doing a lot of online ordering, Black Friday is a thing this week if you do that sort of stuff. In Canada, it's like kind of tense because a lot of people need to do a lot of shopping, specifically November to December, and a lot of the stuff gets delivered by mail. So it's a really weird time. We'll be 2 weeks come Friday, I believe. Yeah, hey, how's it going, Joe? Yeah, it's a definitely tense time, and I'm hoping that they sort their strike out. I'm, again, very clear. I support whatever the post workers are asking for. John is the remix. Thank you, Sandarian. How's it going, by the way? Definitely cupping these. EU store. Sorry, Janice. Yeah, the EU store, I know it's been a bit cursed, and I don't think No Single Games is... If you're upset about it, No Single Games is 3 times as upset. It's not that it's a competition. Maybe I shouldn't take that tone. But, like, obviously, they need to fix that shit. And they're definitely spending a lot of time on it. Currently using DIY tokens that have started breaking up a bit. Yeah, it's cool to see that everyone has their own token space. I'm going to be interested to see how many of these hit the table. Now, I think they will. I think you're going to see a lot of these. What I meant to say, I'm going to be excited to see these hit the table. Again, these will be out early next year. No Single Games. If you want to, you have my address. You want to send me a copy, I'll show them out on stream. No problem. I'll probably pick up a set of these anyways, just to have for like tabletop stuff, because I think they're nice. Hey, Wanagon, how's it going? Kind of sucks for my work because I either need to make a ton of phone calls or hold off of mailing things until further notice. Yeah, the mail strike in Canada is really bad for small businesses. Like very, very bad for small businesses, because most small to medium businesses use Canada Post for delivery. Whether you're like, a crafter, you have your Etsy store, whether you're, again, I don't know, board game stores, like yarn stores, whatever, small businesses that use Canada Post to deliver things, they have to now figure out how to send stuff. And it usually comes at an increase in cost that I don't know that if the customers are swallowing or if the stores are swallowing. And then there's a bunch of stuff that was sent into the mail that is now stuck in mail limbo. I think the only mail that's getting sent right now in Canada is like, there's a subsection of like very necessary mail. So like checks that come through the government where people, need that stuff to survive. That is still getting mailed, but no other mail is going through. So like a lot of, enterprises are falling apart because of it. It's really, really rough. Yeah, it's rough in the run up to holiday season, and rightfully so, that like they're leveraging very heavily to understand like, hey, this infrastructure society needs the post workers, and the post workers are not making enough money to live in most places that they work in. That's a problem. Obviously it is. So yeah, I thought it'd blow over in a week. I think everyone was hoping it would. But yeah, I don't know. It's wild. I'm thinking like the post office also has to be ran like a profitable business. To me, it seems kind of nonsense. It seems like a social service. I'm not sure how Canada works when it comes to that. Kind of sucks for my work. Yeah, I read that. Okay. This is really, really cool. Now, maybe tasteless to say this after that, but I said I would shout this out as well. If you want some premium tokens, this seems really tasteless. I'm still going to do the transition. I'm so sorry, Eric. A Neon Static poker chip order form is now up. Neon Static is doing a reorder, basically a new batch of their poker chips. I think Eric was basically, if anybody wanted them, they put a name down, and I think he's hit the point where he can do another order and financially make sense. I have these poker chips. I just picked them up this year. I paid full price of them. These are more expensive, of course, than the NSG ones coming out next year. These are $55 US, but they're quite nice. These are the ones that you see on No Single Game streams. These are the ones that were used at the World stream, and I picked them up because they're both quite nice, but also they're really good on video, and they're very clear, and they're fun to play with because they are nice poker chips. Now, Eric found out that to be able to send these out outside of the United States, he has to pay VAT and all this other like duty stuff that he just does not know how it works. So he's not going to. So unfortunately, if you want to pick up some Neon Static poker chips and you live outside of the United States, as of now, that is just not an option. VAT is scary. Yeah, I hear you. Like, I wouldn't want to mess it with it either. Whether Eric at some point sets up like, you know, an Etsy store or does something where VAT is handled by a distributor, he'll let you know if that happens. But for now, if you live in, I'm assuming, mainland or off United States, this form I'll link in the description. You can grab these. These chips are very, very good. Obviously, they're much more expensive than the cardboard chips coming out next year, but of course they are. But they're also quite nice. I'm a big fan. The poker chips should come in a big punch sheet too. That'd be really fun. They give you a plastic sheet and just like a ball peen hammer, and you sort it out. Thank you for that disgustingly tasteless shadow. Yeah, any day, friend. Any day. I didn't know that they were going to drop this today. These are quite nice too. But like the thing is, this is sick for accessibility, and I think these are really good tokens for the price too. They're really charming. They're really nice. But then no matter, even if you have accessible tokens, there are going to be some subsection of people who want, like, you know, poker chips to shuffle and like throw around and have fun with. Like, it's a great too. I have cardboard. I have whatever, man. Hey, this just came out. This is gonna be a really rough tangent. Maybe this came out today, like an hour ago, and I've barely looked at it. Do you want to do like a Marvel Champions tangent? Because they just announced a new hero, and I've barely looked at the cards, and I really like Marvel Champions. Do you think there's any shipping to Southern Europe, Tom? I'm assuming no. It's VAT stuff, right? Because I don't know how that stuff is declared. Cardboard tokens just don't click clack like the fancy poker chips. Droids, I'm trying to like figure out. Rongi Dojo trying to teach me, and I still can't figure out how to like stack them like a poker player. So. We'll figure it out. All right, this came out. I don't think we'll do it on stream, which is a bummer. But hero kits being revealed and seeing how they work together are really great. 4 recovery, 10 health, not too bad. All right, well, hey, this is at any point in time, if you care about Marvel Champions, this is on Fantasy Flight Games website. They put news out on a Tuesday. That's not common. And you can see all the nice shield cards and how they work together. Looks really cool. A Snap Nick Fury tease? Yeah, he looks really cool. He deals with the suit. So he comes into play, put your suit into play, and the suit has 2 sides. One side is a stealth suit that says when an enemy would attack you, it schemes instead. So you're literally unkillable because you're hidden. However, instead they like make the threat is like the other lose mechanic in Marvel Champions. So not only can your hero like lose hit points and die, but if you're in alter ego, which means you're not out there doing heroic stuff, the villains scheme and they put threat on things. And if too much threat gets on the main scheme, you can lose the game. So the idea is that in your stealth suit, you're unkillable, but threat gets placed instead, which is kind of very, very cool. Now, that threat also gets placed on this card, and why that matters is that you can swap to your aggro suit, your assault suit, which is a forced interrupt. Whenever you attack, you have to change to your assault suit. So if you're being aggressive, you can't stay hidden. And when you attack, the assault suit does extra damage for how much threat you have on here, which is really sick. It's like a bit of a spycraft thing. So you're meant to be hiding, shield, soldier, spy. Yeah, Tinker Tailor. You're meant to be hiding in your stealth suit, and then once you're like, you know, every once in a while you pop off and do massive damage, and then you pop back out into your stealth suit. And I think you get into your stealth suit is an optional response after you make a basic thwart, place 1 threat on the suit form upgrade. Wait, how do you get back to your stealth suit? Do you have to go back to your alter ego? You have to go back to your alter ego? And removes it? Yeah, it's really, really sick. Yeah, that's a really cool interaction. So I think the only way that you get to your stealth suit is to go to alter ego. So you actually have to like fade away to become, you know, Nick Fury surfing, and then you can put your stealth suit out. So as soon as you go aggro, there doesn't seem to be a way to go back into your stealth suit unless there's a card within the kit that allows you to go to stealth suit, which I'd be surprised if there wasn't. That's really sick. That's a really, really cool interaction. I like that a heck of a lot. 222 is also very just reasonable stealth, reasonable distribution of stats. Really quickly, It works with attack events. Mind you, I do think the stealth suit specifically cares about doing basic thwarts, but break covers when you do an attack. It doesn't have to be the basic attack, so it could be attack action, for instance, an attack event. The concentrated fire says deal 4 damage to an enemy. This gains range. Already 2 for 4 is really high. Like normally most attack actions are 2 for 3 with a bonus, so this is slightly higher than normal. If this defeats an enemy, choose to place threat on your suit from upgrade equal to the enemy's printed scheme value. That's just really fun. Or change to the stealth suit's form. Oh, that's sick. So the idea is if you take out a minion, you can just like disappear into stealth. I think that's kind of awesome. I heard you talk about stealth suits and I thought we might have a Dawn card fan. Nice try. Hey, Lucille, Marvel stream. Yeah, this just came out today, which is like very unusual. No single games, or sorry, wow. Fantasy Flight Games doesn't often put out news on a Tuesday. I mean, this isn't going to stop me from maining Magic anytime soon, but it's really well thought out. It just seems cool. Like the Shield box looks to be embracing the sort of like spycraft and that sort of flavor in a really obvious and fun way. Spray fire. Choose a player, deal 3 damage to the villain, and each minion engage with a player this attack its range. This is probably the most boring card in the whole set. I think there's a bit of a precedent for a 3-cost card that just does 3 damage to everything engaged with someone. And having AoE is fine. There's certain scenarios where it's your best card, but there's a bunch of scenarios where you probably just won't play this card. However, this is deal 3 damage to the villain and each minion. This actually scales up. So if you have a whole bunch of threat, this actually becomes, it hits the whole AoE, right? So say that you have like 6 threat. Oh, it's up to 3. So say that you have 3 threat up on your assault suit. You can do 6 AoE to everybody. Shit, actually, that's really good. Yeah, that's really quite good. So this is only good if it scales. But for what it's worth, the floor on a 3-cost event that does 3 damage to everyone, that is like the floor that you expect. It's just not like a particularly stunning card. That's just kind of like the vanilla floor. Fury's Watch. Exhaust Fury's Watch, remove up to 2 threat from your suit form upgrade. That's at a very expensive cost. Generate a science resource. I forget what it's called. For each threat you remove this way. Ooh, okay. I keep hearing Salt Suit. Hey, London. If Stealth is in Dawn, I'd be very surprised. There's no way that Stealth is going to be in Dawn. Every now and then I try to build a deck that uses Stealth and it's just not worth it. Emrakul was way too important. I think when it gone, it is kind of doable. I think your upsides are almost entirely in the format right now, after image. I think Refractor is like whatever. Like, I don't think you need Refractor. I think Trickster Taka is good. I think Mantle is really good. And then you can do all the Mantle stuff like twinning and charging twice per turn. Like, I think that's the benefit. I honestly think the benefit is twinning Mantle, because Mantle, you can charge twinning twice as fast. You're right, it's strange, but I don't think Stealth is like incredibly cursed. The problem with like relying on Afterimage is like Vigalter gets you still, and that's not great. It's just too slow to put together. I don't know. Rocky published the list that was like Hyperbaric Kit, and specifically also because it's Kit, and so you can make one Hyperbaric as good as possible. It seemed okay. Just build a sick Mantle deck. It uses no stealth synergy, but Mantle is a great card we use with Q-Loop. Yeah, exactly. During every turn, you can throw at least 1 threat onto your suit. That's 1 ER sitting on board to boost your hand. I mean, I guess, and for upgrade, but it's taking away your damage. Like, I don't think it's that easy to get threat on your suit. Like, that means you'll be thwarting every turn. You probably are thwarting every turn, right? Because you're not attacking, and you don't actually need your defense if you're in stealth suit. Maybe that's true. I don't know. The color on this card's really good. Covert Surveillance. Remove 2 threat from a scheme. If you're in stealth suit form, you may place that threat on your suit form upgrade. That's really good. Otherwise, you may change the stealth suit form. Okay, so there's a bunch of ways to change the stealth suit form. That is really nice. Eye patch camera. When any amount of threat would be placed on the main scheme, discard this. Place up to 3 of that threat on your suit form upgrade. It's a hero interrupt, so it doesn't work in alter ego. When any amount would be placed is a very powerful ability, and I think this card gives you safety that you don't just threat out when you're in your stealth suit, because you'll get threaded out pretty heavily if you hang out in your stealth suit. That seems good. 2 costs is preparation and attack. Those are both very good traits. I'm assuming we're going to see more preparation support, considering Shield likes preparation. And this is after you resolve the ability of a preparation card. Resolve the ability is an interesting text. Move 1 threat from a scheme to your suit form upgrade. Yeah, this seems really, really powerful. Oh, this is so goofy. Max 1 per player. And this is Taskmaster, I think that's called. When a minion schemes, discard Informant. This activation removes a threat instead of playing it. Mechanically, that is so funny. So the idea is that you have a minion working for you, and in theory, when they scheme instead, they anti-scheme. And then it's Taskmaster very goofily talking to some shield agent. That is such a fun card. It's also preparation, which if you play a Black Widow really cares about having preparations. It's kind of like the spy thing, which is really fun. And then here we have some Pocket Sand, Prism Dust. After a minion enters play, discard Prism Dust, confuse the minion, and deal 2 damage to it. So there is a Black Widow card I think that does something very much like this. I think it's stun and 2 damage instead of confuse and 2 damage. This is also a hero response, which is fine. If it was an just a generic response, this would be pretty reasonable also in Alter Ego. But that's fine. Confuse the minion, deal 2 damage to it. Yeah, it's okay. It's a preparation, and firing preparations fires all your stuff like Eye Patch Camera, right? So you're going to play some amount of preparations. This looks really sick. This looks really, really fun. Practice plan, it's a preparation. After you discard a preparation card you control, and discarding is part of the cost, so all these say, I think, discard this, right? Yeah, discard Prism, so this will fire. What does this do? Return that card to your hand from your discard pile. Yeah, that seems very boring. That seems like, do you want to play the same card over and over again? I guess we are. I guess we are going to do it. Nick Fury Sr. What? After Nick Fury Sr. enters play, choose one, remove 3 threat from a scheme, draw 2 cards, or give a shield character a tough stats card. At the end of the round, if Nick Fury Sr. is still in play, discard him. Huh? So we talked about power creep. This is power anti-creep. This is a really good card, and they printed a worse version of it, and I don't know why. Why is this like this? Prism does this from his Salt Suit. All I can see in the practice plan card is Vander and V, but maybe that's because I'm sad Arcane Season 2 is over. I haven't started Season 2 yet, because I need to rewatch Season 1 because I don't remember it, but Arcane was lovely. Hey, Patrick. And all we thought the surfboard was his butt and thigh, right? And where this box is intriguing enough to pull me back to Marvel Champions, it's a really cool box. What the hell? Okay. Sorry. Just as a tangent, right? Where are we tangenting? Nick Fury came out in the core set of Marvel Champions. And Nick Fury is a very, very commonly played card. Very worth noting that this is a unique card. And just like in every card game you expect, a unique card means there only can be one on the table at a time. However, uniqueness in Marvel Champions is actually different. That means you only have one in your deck. I actually really like this, and this is acceptable and more acceptable in a game like Marvel Champions because you draw through your whole deck multiple times in a game of Marvel Champions. So you will find Nick Fury, as opposed to in a game of Netrunner or Arkham, where if every unique card was only a one of, you probably wouldn't find half of them, right? So this is Nick Fury. Cost 4, just worth noting 4 is pretty expensive. And the way that you pay for cards in Arkham, in Marvel Champions is very similar to the way that you pay cards in a game like Flesh and Blood, where every card also in the bottom left corner has an amount of resources or a type of resource that you can discard that card to pay for another card. So the idea is that if you have a 6 hand size when you start the game in Alter Ego, to play Nick Fury, you have to pitch generally 4 other cards from your hand. So you pitch 4 cards and then you put Nick Fury on the table. Nick Fury is an ally. It's not really worth worrying about how that works, but it has a forced response. After Nick Fury enters play, choose one. Remove 2 threat from a scheme, draw 3 cards, or deal 4 damage to an enemy. And then because this is a Gandalf type card, at the end of the round, if Nick Fury is still in play, discard him. So he's only in the game for 1 turn and then he disappears, but he has a really powerful ability when he comes into play. And then also you can chump block with him after using his threat or attack to do something, his threat or attack. Is White Nick Fury a different character? I thought it was the same person. It's Senior. I'm assuming that's his father. I don't know anything about the Nick Fury lineage. Timothy, how's it going? So for somebody who hasn't played Marvel Champions, which of these 3 modes do you think happens the most with Nick Fury? When people play Nick Fury, do you think they remove 2 threat, draw 3 cards, or deal 4 damage? 2, 3, 4. Because this teaches you something very core about the game as soon as you get into the game, as long as you start playing Nick Fury and realize, wait, this is really good. Nick is Gandalf with the red gloves. Yes, exactly. Yeah, red gloves. You're right. So Marvel Champions, you always draw cards. Meteor is saying draw cards because drawing is broken in any card game. It's not so much that drawing is broken, but since it's a card game, I'll guess draw 3. Drawing is really good. In Marvel Champions, drawing is obviously good, but also like you draw through your whole deck multiple times every game. So it's not like super, super important as some other card games. But remember, every card in your hand is worth 1 resource. So the idea is if you play Nick Fury, you pitch 4 cards, play Nick, and then draw 3. Functionally, that means Nick only costs you 1 resource, right? Because you paid 4 for Nick and then drew 3, which means gain 3 resources back. So almost all the time, Nick Fury is used kind of like a moshing, where you mosh your hand to get a cool effect and then draw 3 more cards. And Nick Fury is really good. He'll just show up in any deck because everybody enjoys a 1-cost functionally ally that can cycle their hand that will then thwart attack for 2 and block an attack. Like, it's very, very good, and Nick Fury shows up all the time. Now, what's really wild is this is just Nick Fury Senior, which is just the same stats as Nick Fury. 4 cost, 2, 2, 3 health, But then the numbers are just different. It's remove 3 threat, draw 2 cards, or give a shield character a tough status card. So they clearly nerfed the draw cards part, which is what makes Nick really, really busted. Notably, you can't play the Nick Fury ally in Nick Fury's deck because of the way that the world works. So I think they want to incentivize you to play remove 3 threat or give a tough status card. And tough status cards are pretty good in the game, but arguably unnecessary when you have Nick Fury as a blocker immediately. Very strange. I don't know why exactly they did this, just to get a Nick Fury in the Nick Fury deck, but this is like definitely a worse Nick Fury. My surprise would be if this is somehow better than Nick Fury. Like there's no way that people will be playing senior over non-senior in a non-Nick Fury deck. That's really interesting. Then there's a couple shield folks. Leo Fitz costs 2 less if your identity has the shield trait. That's fun. So anybody can play it, but it's a lot easier to play if you're shield. Exhaust Leo, search your deck for a tech card and add it to your hand. That's a really powerful ability. Tech is just a really good subtype. And there's certain heroes that their decks are mostly tech cards and have to build tech cards quickly. So like Rocket Raccoon, Iron Man, what's the lady in the Iron Man suit? A bunch of the ant characters. Are Fitzsimmons in the games? I think so, because this is Gemma Simmons. I think Fitzsimmons is like a ship, right? And same idea, Gemma Simmons, reduced by 2 if your identity is a shield trait. So 1 cost versus 3 cost is a huge change in this game. And she will just generate a science resource for a tech card. So it looks like they work really, really well together. This is also notably not alter ego. A lot of times these characters, like cards like this, will only work when you're in alter ego. This one does. So it's only an alter ego action. So if you're doing heroic stuff, you can't hang out with Leo. But she actually works for anything, which is really, really powerful. She just seems more playable on more board states. He's really good probably in a certain subsection of decks, but you have to be a tech deck that wants to hang out in alter ego, and that seems like a harder thing. But if you're a tech-based deck, Gemma seems totally great regardless. And Super Spies. It's a team up. So if Maria and Nick are on the table, place 3 all-purpose counters and or threat tokens on shield upgrades and or supports. This costs 0. I love that when the team up events cost 0, because then they're already hard to play as is. This looks sick. This looks really fun, man. Marvel Champions designs have been just really good. Like just really kind of fun. They all play it largely differently. Are we doing Netrunner or Marvel Champions? We're doing Netrunner for sure. Biscotta, how's it going? Except in multiplayer, can't play my Nick Fury ally if you're playing as Nick Fury. Yeah, that's true. I guess that's why you have to play your senior. All right, we're gonna do some Netrunner. Oh, real quick too. This exists at IKEA. We found this the other day. We actually had not the greatest experience at IKEA, which is strange. I love IKEA. This is a bar that exists to strap over any table so that you can put like festoons and lights and garlands and whatever you want, right? Like you can make a nice, pretty outdoor indoor space. You can also put a camera on this. Now it's not incredibly robust compared to like a C-stand or any sort of professional grade equivalent, but I bought one of these and then have a clamp to put like a nice cell phone on top of it, which has a good camera. Mind you, all the like NPC footage was shot on my partner's like nice modern iPhone, and I think it looks pretty good. So now this is something that we have that I can put down a table and put a camera and start filming some in-person play. We're not set up to do any sort of like live stream stuff with this sort of setup, but it's something I'm working to try and figure out if we want to do any like in-person table stuff, which is pretty exciting. But it's just really goofy to find this at IKEA to be like, wait, this is a filming setup? Anyways, we'll see if that works. I tried it yesterday and the footage actually looked pretty good, which is great for a $37 thing that can fold up relatively easily. How about Lord of the Rings LCG? Anybody likes? Hey Yuri, how's it going? I like it a bit. I haven't played enough in a while. We just picked up the final thing like 2 weeks ago when it came out. My partner and I will play through with some of the pre-con decks. I don't have enough time to play as much Lord of the Rings, but I have a pretty unique full collection of it, which is just something I've been collecting specifically over the lockdown, which is fun. Hey, Second Cap. Sekaknap, how's it going? Love the Lord of the Rings LCG, been getting really into it lately. Yeah, they're not putting out any new content for what it's worth. It seems to be complete. I don't know what the next step is for Fantasy Flight games, but they must have been re-releasing content. So there's a chance it's going to be largely discontinued soon. It's good, but pretty hardcore. It is definitely aged. Like you can tell it's an older system. It is much harder. I don't think it allows, it's more of a puzzle game to me in a lot of ways. A wonderful find. Might have to get some from my game store to do some streams. Yeah, Bloody Mad. It's like not perfect. I wouldn't hang a heavy camera from it, but if you have like a small webcam or you have like a phone, I would do that. But like I would not hang a DSLR from it because it's not that stable and your camera is probably pretty expensive. So do keep it in mind. It's not the perfect like option, but if you just want to hang like some cheap LED lights over a table or some a phone camera, which is, you know, phones are relatively light, seems like a good thing to do. I really like the deck building aspect. Waiting for this one too. Yeah. For Lord of the Rings, you have to do a bit more deck building for sure. It's like every single scenario presents unique problems you have to deck build around. It's not like a campaign thing. There's so much content though. Good luck playing it all. Yeah, I know. That's the problem. And it's like difficult. All right. I wanted to play something today. We're going to go to popular. I think Axie was guessing on what we'd play today. He didn't get it, but he was guessing some pretty wild stuff. This is a cool list that I wanted to try out for a bit. So this is Solomon's list. King Solomon is how I believe he registered when it came to UK Nationals, and he was the only criminal to make the top cut. Now, specifically, Solomon's been putting out a couple like write-ups and other versions of this deck list that he's been posting. All this stuff is linked in this deck list and some other stuff, and I'll link all of it in the description. So the idea was largely, and this goes back to December of last year. Whoa, December of last year. So it's slightly different. This is Self-Defense's August of earlier this year, and this is more similar to the deck that we're going to be playing at. I do think there's also like a write-up document. I'm not sure where the write-up document is. Is King Solomon different from The King? Yeah, The King is Brandon The King, who's a Canadian player. Solomon plays from the UK. They're two different people. Joyride, yeah. I think Meteor has a comment that this deck list shows you like how out of the way you have to go to get some card draw in your criminal deck, right? Like this deck is spending nearly 10 influence on like not even the card draw you'd expect to play, but almost all the card draw on the deck is like, you know, weird cards because criminal card draw is a bit rough. There is a document in here. I know I saw it and I wanted to be able to open it, but in theory, Solomon wrote a little thing about like how do you play criminal. And specifically what this deck does is we're playing Zahya, so we can play 40 cards. This list is playing 42, which, you know, it's up to you to figure out if you can cut 2 cards. And Zahya says that you gain credits when you access cards from central servers, specifically HQ or R&D once per turn. Not first time, once per turn, which is great. Who's buttoning down R&D against Zahya? I do. I definitely do because of, what's it called? Jailbreak, which is in this deck. Of course it is. Like I do often button down both central servers as quickly as possible. HQ first, but R&D second for sure. Is Joyride not just bad? No, Joyride's... So, okay. A big part of this deck, the way that Solomon talks about it, is he talks about this as an aggro deck. The real cute trick about this deck is playing very few resources, and that's actually a big reason why we end up playing Joyride and Steelskin for card draw, because we can't really play Earthrise Hotel or like Verbal Plasticity or any of the other stranger stuff even, because we're a slightly tag me deck. We're playing Manuel Shimura, and Manuel says that if we're tagged, we access additional cards on HQ or R&D. Now, because this is a resource and because this is not a click to initiate this run, this actually does compound with everything else we do. The idea is that if we jailbreak R&D while we're tagged with Manuel, we actually access 3 cards, which means we see more cards, but also we gain 3 credits back. And that's a really nice synergy. You just want to be seeing as many cards as possible with Zahya as consistently as possible in so many different situations. And Manuel is really good for that. Now on threat 3, which hopefully we get there quickly by being aggressive, this is not impossible to trash, but it's just a bit annoying to trash. It'll gain half of Seb's text box, so the corporation has to trash a card from HQ. They definitely should trash this. It just is a bit expensive to spend a click and a card and 2 credits, but they should trash this because this card's very important. Otherwise, we only have Class Act, which if the corporation trashes this, we're okay with it largely. It's a good card to have, but a fair bit of its value, at least 40 to 50% of its value, is just by installing this to draw 4.5 cards. It's obviously really good if you keep it, but if the corp trashes this if we're tagged, like it's not the end of the world. It's fine. Yeah. How do we get tagged? Hot Pursuit. Very powerful card. Also really nice that this works with Manuel because you get the tag before the run happens, you access cards happens. So if the run on HQ is successful, you gain 9 credits and then take a tag, which means immediately for Manuel, you're going to see 2 cards, which makes that you play the Hot Pursuit and technically you gain 11 credits, right? You pay 2 for it, so functionally you don't gain 11, but you gain 9 plus 2 because you see 2 cards, which is really, really, really kind of cool. That's the only card in the deck that gives you tags, mind you. If you run into a matchup where tags matter and they tag you, you are tagged, and that's probably bad for you because if they want to tag you, they probably have some win condition associated with it. That might be a reason why we're playing Steelskin over Diesel. They're the same influence, and Steelskin obviously fires when damage hits you, but Diesel's cheaper to play. Being 1 to 0 credits is actually a substantial difference. I remember this was actually a talking point last year where certain criminal decks were playing Diesel, certain criminal decks were playing Steelskin Scarring. And I saw a lot of matchups where the Steelskin did save the criminal in weird situations. You never expect a criminal to have Steelskin Scarring. So if your meta is incredibly lethal, this is good. But I've also seen situations where like just 1 credit matters so much and paying 0 for Diesel versus 1 for Steelskin can matter, especially when we're not playing something like a Mystic Miami to make this cheaper or like, I don't know, prepaid voice pad. So Do read the write-up, but Solomon talks about this being an aggro deck, and specifically quotes things like the 17 card axis. The idea is that you just need to see about 17 cards in most games of Netrunner on central servers to have a 50% chance to win the game, and that is true. So the idea is that you want to play this kind of akin to how people think of Mercury. I will go on my Mercury rant if you want me to, but the idea is that we just want to get as many accesses as possible, as quickly as possible, and luckily Zahya will pay us. Once we see 17 cards, hopefully we won the game. And I think that sort of works out. We have a lot of other ways to see multiple cards like Copulation, Manuel. We don't have any Docklands Pass or Wakes, which I think is a bit surprising, but the idea is that this deck is meant to be a bit more aggressive overall. We also have 2 inside jobs and 3 boomerangs, which means that we have a lot of ways to get through single ice servers and double ice servers just to be able to be like, oh, I'm going to boomerang Hot Pursuit turn 1. What are you going to do about it? And that makes sense. I think the console slot being Swift is very interesting. Swift is obviously very good because you get a click back and you can use that click to say draw a card. Now Swift most often shows up in decks that are doing deep dive that can really use the 5 clicks because they want to have a 5-click turn to deep dive into Ikawa and double deep dive and do all that sort of stuff. But for us, Swift is just utility. So it's just basically you get a click back each turn they can use to click for a credit, draw a card, functionally making an uncommon in some weird cases. And I don't know how I feel about this. I'm excited to test this. I think I would very easily play Hermes because I do think slowing the game and putting the ice back and the cards back into the corporation's hands, especially when we want to multi-access a lot, is a way to slow down the game to give us more time and more space to see 17 cards. The idea that we can like run R&D and see 3 cards potentially with like a jailbreak makes it really hard for the corporation to push in a remote server if they're worried about us multi-accessing. Hey, this is King Solomon here, creator of Self-Defense. Yo, hey, you posted it firstly. Congratulations on your finish. 42 cards is a guarantee of Swift in opening hand. You published a document that I know I read. Is it shared here? Because it talks about like playing the deck and breaking the cards into different slots, which I thought was pretty interesting. Why the Joyrides? So Joyrides, Solomon will answer. It's a good card. I think Solomon's specifically talking about like classically through the history of the deck, it seems like there's a bunch of cards that are effects stapled on successful runs. So the idea is that Joyride is firstly 2 to draw 5 is really good. Like that's not bad at all. Now, whether you can deal with 5 cards, ideally we get a click back with Swift, so it makes it much more manageable to draw 5 cards. But the idea is that this is attached to a successful run, which means it's attached to a Swift, which means it's often attached to gaining a credit with Zahya. So we're taking a Joyride, and not only are we getting it to be cheaper and clickless, but we're also attaching it just to seeing cards. Our goal is just to see as many cards as we can as fast as possible. Again, slightly Mercury coded here. So the idea is that having a run event attached to accessing cards gives us that sort of click compression. It pushes everything together. I think in older versions of the deck, right, the idea is like Katurga Breakout is really cool, and this was shouted out, because this is a recursion card, but it's attached to making a successful run. So the idea is that you can Katurga Breakout run HQ and then see a couple cards with, well, in theory, a couple cards if you're playing Manuel, not just Jamura, and get the recursion. So the idea is like, we want to get multi-access or we want to touch cards. Why not touch cards while doing our utility options? That's the way I see it, right? Like, would this deck play Joyride or would it play Quality Time if Quality Time existed? And I think it would play Joyride on the basis that it's not about drawing the cards, which is obviously very good, but it's about doing that at the same time as firing Swift, firing Zahya, and just seeing more cards, because we need to see 17 cards in theory. The deck wants ice to be face up so you can plan your runs. Ripping a Joyride is the single greatest thing in all of Netrunner. I don't think I've ripped a Joyride to date. Oh, there's Jason. Hey, that's for those who are watching, Jason Ford is this Jason Ford. This is Sid 7, the Joyride enjoyer. Hermes is weird because if you go aggro, there might be no cards to bounce. It's true, but I think I generally bounce the thing in the remote server. Sometimes you bounce the ice. Second paragraph. Whole ass guide. Okay, I found it. This is the self-defense lesson. So this is the idea of the basics. I don't know the belt color order of, I'm assuming either karate or taekwondo. So the basics of the deck has all these cards in it that are the basic things you want to do. Then there's a pressure card. So Doof, Boomerang, Joyride, and Hot Pursuit. Then the idea is that what is pressure anyway? So we have 2x Swift. This is an older version. 2x Amakua and Leech. That is the idea that we run a lot. So our Amakua and Leech becomes our ultimate breaker. And then we have Katurga Breakout. This is an older version. It's about the axes. It's about the cones. Then we win the game by getting multi-access. This version doesn't have a Mad Dash anymore. I think Mad Dash was really good in the meta for a while, probably at the time that this was written. I think it's still okay, but it's not incredible. And then the blue belts is because we actually have to break ice. Older versions had a Hush in it. This is now in a Leech, which I think Leech is fantastic because we want to be running a lot. And then there's some matchup advice. This deck is aggro, and I do think the way that you can play Criminal, there's a lot of different ways you can play Criminal in the modern meta. This one is a bit more aggro than I would expect, or maybe even be comfortable playing. I think we've seen some older versions of deck like this, where it's like, I'm going to sit back and just, play Control. I think that's more Hermes based. This to me is going to play like a Mercury that is not just obsessed with bypass, which I think is probably for the best. We'll see how that goes. I'm excited. The guide is also the first paragraph of the 10-year Netrunner for self-defense. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, all this stuff is linked below, which is really, really fun, or will be linked below if you're watching this. And it's cool to see how this deck changed over time. At this point, this was a year ago, mind you. We didn't have Manuel Lachishimura, which I have not seen being played out to anybody else besides specifically Seb. And the fact that this is like a tag me criminal in the softest term is kind of really fun. This is the Hush version from August earlier this year. This is what the write-up was attached to, if I'm not mistaken. So we're looking at like the Hush, Leech, the Katurga. Not too much else has changed. Obviously, the Mad Dash is in here. The third Swift is coming in on 42 cards instead of 41. And our Breaker Suite is miserable. Like, I don't think we want to use our Breaker Suite. Cat's Cradle has a bit of pressure in it. Kurapir is kind of neat against a lot of the cheap barriers that exist. I think there's going to be some bad matchups for us, like no way around it. I don't know how we play this many run events until like Ag Infusion. I think that's going to be miserable. We're also not playing any sort of Acid Tech at all. So like we have no Mistbones. And Mistbones is really good. It is really quite good. Now you might say like, okay, if we're playing against Ace Group, we're a criminal deck and we're putting so much pressure central servers, we may not need the Mistbones, but that always like, we need to figure out how that lands. Ag is miserable. Yes. I think that was the big reason why I wasn't excited to play Criminal at Worlds this year if I was playing Criminal, is because the Ag matchup, if you play like Reg Aggro Crim, just sucks. It's just really, really bad for you. I know in the write-up you talk about an Ag matchup you played at UK Nats that worked out for you in a really like squeaky, exciting way. There's no Crim deck under the sun that beats Ag reliably. No, I think you can make a Crim deck that beats Ag reliably. I think Az can do okay into it. Stealth is maybe not what you want, but you can build like, one of the best things you can do into Ag Infusion is slow the game down and put down 2 Cheswa. And once you got down 2 Cheswa, you're actually not doing too bad because they can't really tax you out by throwing you into central servers. It's just hard to build the deck that can do everything in Criminal because their cards are like, I don't know. It's not like you have the reactive flexibility of Shaper and some of the busted cards. Rosetta Los beats Ag Infusion easily. That's not the one I was going to jump to, but yeah, there might be a point there. Hey, Malt, I got wrecked by a Los once while playing Ag Infusion. Yeah, Los might do something there. Man, if you derez ice, that's like ice destruction. I think there's also a chance that you can play Aqua Ceres Crew 4 and 9 or Aqua Ceres Crew Sable, and that deck can probably beat Ag Infusion. But at the end of the day, Aqua Ceres Crew is just a really bad matchup in general for Ag Infusion. I was interested to try Aqua Ceres Crew 419 for a while before Worlds. I never got to it, but I do think that there's a chance that that sort of blue Hoshiko is actually kind of fun. Penny Shaver has the problem that Criminal is generally pretty rich, but way too fair. Hermes and Swift plus Deep Dive help convert the Crim playstyle into unfair interactions. And like we saw at Worlds, there was one Criminal in the top cut. I believe that was Night Ride. Nightlight's Criminal deck had no new cards in it. And it's just like good stuff Criminal. I believe it was Sable, it wasn't Zahya. It was just like good stuff, like very, very generic, like kind of like the world second place deck list from last year. Otherwise, like in 19th spot, or sorry, 17th spot, just missing the cut was triple Deep Dive Sable, which the Bears were playing. And that deck is actually like, it's not maybe the best deck in the format because it's not lat, but it is a really good and a really like surprising deck. I was considering playing that today, but I think I need to probably ask a couple more questions about it. Yo, Cranked, if you need a tangent for the stream today, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on the current Marvel Snap drama around series drops, if you have any. Oh yeah, it's bad. It's really, really bad. How's it going? We've already did a bit of a tangent, Craig. We might come back to it later because I did already a Marvel Champions tangent earlier. Marvel Snap is just, it is such a good game, but the monetization is really, really bad. And the problem right now, I think the person who's described it in the least amount of words in a way that I really agree with is KM Snap. And KM Snap does these videos where he goes through, okay, we're tangenting. KM Snap does a video where he goes through and he just recaps, these are some of the best meta decks you can play this week. And he'll go over the deck list, explain how they work and some changes. It's a really nice video. They're like 20 minutes long. And so he goes through this entire video. And then in the last section before he signs off, he says like, hey, I've been getting a lot of negative feedback because when I do these recaps, almost all the decks that I'm recommending include Series 5 cards, and Series 5 cards are cards that are just very hard to get, either literally impossible to get, or if you don't get lucky, very, very expensive to chase down. Like honestly, impossible to very expensive. And by expensive, I mean incredibly expensive. Like every individual card costs $100 expensive if you want to brute force it, which I would not recommend doing. But his response was like, everyone's like reaming me out to be like, hey, why are all these meta decks like basically hinging around new Series 5 cards? And he's like, I'll be honest, right now, the meta is very, very cool. It's one of the most interesting metas. It's as wide as possible. There's so many different weird archetypes that are doing well competitively high up on ladder. And if you care about it, that's really cool. However, all of these decks hinge on Series 5 cards that most players, particularly players getting this game, don't have and will never have. And it's a hard thing to rectify without it being done by like, you know, the powers that be. And it just sucks because right now that's totally true. The game is in a really, really cool spot. There's so many weird and interesting decks, but almost all of them hinge around some of the new cards that recently came out that are just unobtainable largely. And it is a bit of a bummer. And by a bit, I mean, people are not playing the game. Like they're losing a lot of player base, not slowly, it doesn't look like. And then they recently did a drops. So they basically said these cards that are now Series 5 are Series 4, and these cards that are Series 4, they're Series 3. It helps, I guess, but it does not fix fundamentally the fact that the new decks that are the top are very, very hard to pursue. And they're interesting decks because the system of getting cards is just, it's just shitty. It's just not great. Very happy not to be a part of that. Sounds awful. It's not awful. Like my collection is modest. I've spent very little money on that game. Like I just buy the battle passes. I don't like buy a card for $100. And my collection, there's frustrating corners of it where it's like, oh, there's this entire archetype I can't play, but I can build like 4 or 5 meta decks that I really enjoy. And so if I have some time and I sit down and play Marvel Snap for like 20 minutes while something is rendering or while I'm on the bus or whatever, I have a good time doing it. The thing is, like, if I wanted to really care about it, it would suck. If I wanted to be like, okay, I need to get this. Yeah, Gautam, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. We're going to put it together. What game is this? It's Marvel Snap. And Marvel Snap like is so frustrating because it's such a genuinely good game. The design of the game is fantastic. The way that the game, it just does, it's honestly one of my favorite card games. It sucks. The way that accessibility to cards. I played from global launch until Deadpool's Diner the first time, and Arkham basically confirmed the devs have zero interest in making a good game. Then again, I basically only played Living Tribunal deck, so maybe I'm the real degenerate. Yo, Arkham is sick. I think Arkham is like one of my favorite things about, real talk, one of my favorite things about Marvel Snap. So, oh man. Are we tangent again? Just to show you really quickly, Marvel Snap is a game in which your deck is 12 cards. The game is only 6 turns. You start the game with 3 cards in hand, no mulligan. Every turn you draw a card, which means these games are only 2 to 3 minutes, but inherently at the end of the game, you generally draw 9 out of your 12 cards. So games are consistent. It's frustrating, obviously, when you don't draw the card you want to, and there's only 3 cards left in your deck, but generally you draw 9 out of your 12 cards every single game. And that is really fun, really straightforward, really simple. Man, it's a game that takes 2 to 3 minutes, okay? It's a mobile game. Arkham is a terrible card. It's a 7/7. You don't have 7 energy normally. It has a mana system where on turn 1 you have 1 energy, on turn 2 you have 2 energy, 3 energy, just like Hearthstone. So on turn 6, the final turn of the game, you can play 1 6-drop, right? So 6 drops are hard to play, 1 drops are easy to play. Arkham is a 7/7, which is technically unplayable, but at the start of the game, you shovel 15 random cards into your deck. However, also at the start of the game, you have +1 max energy. So on turn 1, you have 2 energy, and then on turn 6, you have 7 energy. So you have more energy, but your deck is now, instead of 12 cards that you've chosen all of them, it is now 27 cards, including this absolute brick of garbage. And it is so cool. And for a newer player, if you save up your, whatever they're called, your credits, to buy 1 expensive card from their market, this is not money, this is like in-game currency, buy Arkham. Because it allows you to play with the entire card pool. There's so many cards I don't own because they're unapproachable that'll show up in my Arkham deck and I get to play with them and get to see what they do. Obviously, the deck is not incredibly consistent. It's good enough. Like, it has above 50% win rate. The cool thing about Marvel Snap is that you can win games and progress on leaderboard by having a deck that has a sub 50 win rate, because it has a snapping and bluffing mechanic where you can basically, if a game is doing poorly in the first 3 turns, you can walk away, lose only 1 cube. And if the game is doing well, you can snap and double the odds, and you actually can gain upward progression by having a deck that doesn't win consistently. It's a really cool system, but Arkham is honestly one of my favorite parts of it. Sorry that you don't like it cranked. I know it can be frustrating because you're playing against nonsense. You can't tell what they're capable of, and that is frustrating, but it's just fun to say like, oh, weird cards and a lot of free energy. It's sick. Kind of like it a lot. Marvel Snap was great at launch. Hey, Hexnet. And the monetization acquisition cost got worse every month. I agree. Very glad I quit a year ago. Looking forward to a new game ripping off the game mechanisms and implementing a cheaper acquisition system. I don't think it will, though. That's the problem, is it's a mobile game and they have to make money, and they're making a lot of money. Like, I hear you, but I just don't know why somebody would do it. Unless the player base leaves. And then they're like, yeah, you probably should have not done that. But I'm a bit more pessimistic about it, because obviously if you go to the store and they're selling $100 bundles for cosmetics, that's because people are buying $100 cosmetic bundles, right? And like, it's hard to fight that. Kind of wild how they avoid putting good cards into lower rarities. Well, the idea is come like next Monday, a bunch of cards are dropping to lower rarities. The problem is they just don't drop rarities anywhere near as aggressively as enough. And it's just not that possible to get new cards consistently. There's a lot of problems. Arkham is cool, but should just be its own mode that you opt into, because in ladder, it basically deletes the entire aspect of what makes the card game, predicting what card your opponent may have. Yeah, but Cranked, it also allows you to play as if they don't have it. Like, you do get blown out, and that's a risk thing, but just, like, don't play around anything. It's freeing. You know what I mean? Just send it. Like, they probably don't have it. Snap. Their hands are usually worse than your hands because your deck is consistent. The problem is, I think you remember the times where they, like, play on turn 2 where they have a Shang-Chi and a Shadow King randomly. But I do think that is just burnt into your head because you get hurt by it. This hand's sick. So either we go HQ or we go R&D. That's a really good opening. Netrunner and other LCGs have made me allergic to actual game clients with microtransactions. Give me my free animation-less Netrunner spreadsheet every day. Timothy, I hear you, and it's been a very big problem for any game that doesn't inherently incentivize or encourage you to have the entire card pool. Like any game that says like the game would be more fun if you have the whole card pool, but I'm not giving you the whole card pool. Hate it. Did they ever fix card acquisition upon entering pool 3? I think so. I haven't been in pool 3 for a long time, so I can't really tell you. Hey, Patrick Gower. On cell. How you doing? Okay, so I want to contest this remote server. This is the problem, right? Seeing 17 cards on central servers, assuming that Meteors on NASDSs is going to be a problem. Send them to the Shadow Zone. How do you think you open this, right? Like, I'm assuming we just do Swift, Hot Pursuit, Joyride. And then we can Bravado server 1. Added 3 end of line to Ob for this deck. I know there's a chance. I'm worried. I'm really, really worried. I like Swift Joyride. I think there's no way we don't Hot Pursuit. Maybe we do Swift Joyride because then if we draw into a Manuel, we can do Manuel Hot Pursuit. Maybe that's good. This is going to be -2 cards plus 5 cards. When's the next Netrunner expansion coming? Q1 of next year. Swift Hot Pursuit to grab Doof. Hot Pursuit doesn't grab an event, right? Like it just does a run. Swift Joyride could grab Doof. Swift Joyride Doof server 1. Is that enough clicks? Let's find out. Yeah. No Doof. Wall to wall means that this is more of an asset matchup. Is Trickshot good in Zahya? Trickshot, it's probably okay. The issue with Trickshot is that you need ways to use the credits. Wait, this sucks. Doof found? Oh, we did find a Doof. Oh wait, this is really good. This is really good. So Trickshot's only good in Criminal if you have a board state in which you can use those credits, right? So unfortunately you don't in a lot of board states. And I think now we just Bravado server 1, assuming now we can trash Rashida. So like, that's why it's really good in Shaper, because you have Muse and self-modifying code. Like here, a Trickshot would be pretty bad. It's not that bad because we can trash your powers that be. But if you don't have breakers, which we don't really jam down breakers incredibly aggressively. Yeah, it was pretty good. So we're assuming this is Rashida, which means we exactly have 1 credit here. Or sorry, 2 credits to trash it. Oh, that's... I don't know if I'd rush an Eminem behind a single ice, but that was definitely a very good start. I'm assuming we're not going to need the gamble. You're going to say, is Trickshot good? It's basically always yes. The question is how good? Yes. And I don't know if it's that good that it's worth splashing. Oh my god. This is good. Okay. So we're definitely going to Hot Pursuit. You can Hot Pursuit twice? Yes. We know that there's 1 3-coster in hand, or sorry, the trash cost. I want to draw once in case we hit our multi-access card. I'm not going to play that this turn. Like, I guess we Hot Pursuit twice. I think, Solomon, this is like your playstyle in which we're going to be as aggressive as possible, to see as many cards as possible. I guess we could. But I kind of like keeping this for another turn for Swift, but I'm assuming now we know half the hand, right? I don't think we will. Do you think he's going to extract? You let him get a Beho and wait and turn and doof them? Yeah, like I think I trashed the powers that be so that Meteor can't extract this. Then we'll just hit R&D for a single and we'll install the Carmen just so that we have something to steal SDS with. Before Isa goes on HQ, I don't care because we have Boomerang. I don't think we care, Patrick. This is where I'm lacking card draw. Do we want Spin Doctor to be drawn? No. Right, like if Meteor just does extract, then we doof. I guess the only problem is if it's border. If he borders HQ, we're happy. Like, I don't think he can win the game if he borders HQ. I think he needs border on their remote server to have anything. And even if he reses the border control, like, we'll probably just hop pursuit it. We have a second boomerang. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's that bad for us. We know 2 of the cards in hand are wall to wall, which he should get on the table here, and extract. Where'd all the money go? We spent a fair bit of it, but we have another opportunity diversion. We played 3 for Carmen. I wish we had more card draw. Another Joyride here would be incredible. I can't believe how good that start was. The Swift into Joyride into Doof into Bravado is just disgusting. So now he's just extracting. Okay. So that's why we trashed that card. So now he has no board state. Now here he can ice HQ. We don't know if he has ice. So he drew first. Now he has ice. So we can do Boomerang Doof. And unless it's exactly a border control, I think we need to find out what this is. We installed the Carbon, which actually gives another subroutine to Surveyor, or not Surveyor, to the Sentry, which is not great, into Winchester. I'm going to do Boomerang Doof. Draw first? Okay. That's all the same cards. This gives us a click back to run R&D, and we want to touch a card because of Zahya. It's just an Afshar, okay. So he's going to be on 1 credit. It did shuffle in. Boomerang Hopper Suit, then you doof them down to 0 if it's border control. Yeah, it might have been fair. We're not going to like the ice wall here. This is where the card draw is not great. Like here, I would really like to have just 2 cards a turn with Earthrise. I'm confident the third doof will be drawn in the next card or 2. You could turn it back. Could have been Logjam. You don't often play Logjam in op. Sorry, how's it going? Let alone it would have been pretty bad, but often you don't play like long-term advanceable ice in op because you generally want to be a bit more flexible with your board state. And even if it is, we're fine with that. We just break the gain 2 credits. Could have been Spiderweb. I'm more worried about that. All right, so this is the wall-to-wall we want to deal with. This is the ice wall. So we could hop pursuit. Not worried about end of line, no. I think we've seen enough of the list so far that it's probably not end of line. Like this just looks like tempo. Like Eminent Domain, I'd be surprised. Why Crim's not running Zenith? It's a bit expensive. Like losing the damage is pretty rough. I don't know. I think Zenith is good. And like card draw on Criminal is pretty good. Man, I want this to be a diesel. Yeah, Zenith's a bit awkward. It was never like everywhere. I think Waken Plan is the most common cybernetic you see because it is a very strong win condition against like weaker HQs. I like Zenith. It's just like core damage is a bit rough in a very lethal meta, which makes it like a 2-card install. Yeah, when breakers in hand too, like you often don't slam your breakers on the table and then hitting a breaker is ruinous when you only have 1 of each. So we need to deal with this. Okay. We probably should run HQ. So I think we do Amakua Hot Pursuit. He might have an agenda in there. Oh, Amakua Hot Pursuit doesn't do it, sorry. Cat's Cradle Hot Pursuit, I guess. Amaku's really good because it's an ice wall. I'm just doing this because of Swift, and then we'll trash the wall-to-wall because we don't want the ice wall to get bigger. Better to lobby SBL to bring back DreamNet. That's nice. At some point, they will, but I think it takes Hoshiko going. Hey, Rosenheim, how's it going? Tag Me isn't the same without Obelisk. I always hope we get Criminal Soft reprint. It'd be really cool. It would be very cool. The problem is like now you have to balance around Seb to some extent, but at least Seb doesn't want to play Tag Me. All right, so Spin Doctor, Broad Deck, Spin Doctor, and Extract. So we know there's a wall-to-wall in hand, and that's all we know. We're pretty sure there's an ice wall in R&D. Ooh, the version of fun. The Asher, I don't know what you get for 2 costs. That's really good if this gets extracted. Like Asher is really good on HQ. Okay, so now we want to set up Amakua. We can do Amakua run R&D and force a res. If Meteor reses the Amakua, the ice wall, we don't mind that much. It's only bad because you can extract a 0-coster. But we probably do Amakua Hot Pursuit HQ. Third HP R&D is good here. Yeah, I think so. The question is whether we draw first. I think we're drawing for Manuel here. Okay. Man, I can't believe how many of these run events have been really good. That's our last Hot Pursuit though, which is like the most explosive card. Obelisk Hades Shard is one of my all-time favorite accidental Netrunner discoveries. It's really cool. Okay, Audacity. So we'll gain 1 here. If we're really confident we can dirty laundry R&D, I don't think we have to take that risk because Swift will work later, but we're assuming this is an ice wall. On 3 credits, there's nothing that will destroy our programs if we call it wrong. Like on 4, then we have to be worried about Stavka slightly. There, it's the ice wall. That's why we got the Amakua down. Second ice wall. All right. We did everything we wanted to do this turn. We did our run event. We got our Amakua to 2. Getting our Amakua up to like 5 means that the remote server just doesn't work. Because, well, envelopment is really expensive. It beats sandstone. It beats everything. That's probably wall to wall. Maui's 2 immune still legal? Yep. Probably see dirty laundry for Swift next turn. Yeah, I agree. We want to play 1 run event a turn. Now the list is probably on 3 Mavirus, so counting on Amakua is like kind of difficult. But Meteor resing a Mavirus for 3, as long as we don't like play it incorrectly and allow him to get a Regolith uncontested, we'll be okay. So still in 3 credits, so I think we can just run server 4 and see what happens. Server 5, if it's a Spin Doctor, we don't want to dirty laundry it, but we can always just dirty laundry R&D after we want to make sure there's no Amakuas on the table. Or sorry, Mavirus is on the table. We'll just check this. If this is res as a Maskarovka or Sandstone, that's like okay. Honestly, Maskarovka is the worst case for us. I don't want to give me 32 credits. We're just going to be as aggressive as possible. No further. Okay. We're assuming this is a wall-to-wall and 3 credits of trash. So a virus. Okay. Glad we can get that out of there. So I don't want to dirty laundry this. And now we probably just dirty laundry HQ to get our credits. That's the wall-to-wall. We actually can bounce off of this if we wanted to get an Amakua counter. So we want to run HQ. So we can always dirty laundry bounce off of this, dirty laundry HQ, run server 5. Don't dirty laundry HQ. You probably has points in there. You can always run archives for a single turret counter. Yeah, I know. Yes, yeah, we can always do that. It costs. It does. We can always dirty laundry R&D. What does wall to wall do? Good question. It gives basically a lot of options. I think we have to trash this. So it gives an advancement, it gives a credit, it gives a card draw. And that's just a lot of value, especially because Ice Wall scales out. So we're going to trash that. So I think here we just like run archives, dirty laundry R&D draw, unfortunately. We're definitely going to have to trash it. The question is whether we wanted to bounce, run R&D, and then run back. Whatever. This actually flips a card, which is nice. Sandstone, okay. So this still gives us an Amakua counter because after the purge. And so now we can dirty laundry R&D to get our Swift back and to get our Zahya. So this is a 4 credit econ card. If we were really concerned, we could get our Kurapira down too and start charging it. Might as well dirty laundry archives, I guess. Maryland, I'd rather Meteor top deck this than anything else, I think. Just keep drawing. Okay. So we know there's an Audacity in hand, a Maryland in hand. The wall-to-wall is gone. He probably has another agenda. Like, there's 1-pointers in the deck, so it's probably on somewhere around 11 agendas. He hasn't drawn a lot, though. Oh, man, another Doof here would be pretty good. Oh, Jailbreak, sick. So here it's Jailbreak HQ or Jailbreak R&D. I know 2 cards in hand, so I'd rather Jailbreak R&D. I don't know whether we have to afford the Kurapira. Draw been a bit unlucky, I think. Class Act would make a game perfect. Yeah, it would be really, really good. So I think we just Jailbreak here on R&D and see 3 cards. Nothing like this to make me want to play Crim. Patrick, you don't need an excuse to want to play Crim. The problem is that they made Lat too good. Like, if Patrick's out there playing Lat, like, something's messed up. Yep. Okay, Extract coming up. That's good money. So we have a Compilation. We actually could go back for the Extract. I honestly think giving Meteor an Extract would be really bad for us. I think we cup the Extract. That's a really good top deck. We're on game point, but I don't think we can. Luckily, this doesn't extract really well, but I don't want to give Meteor 6 credits. I think Kurapira counters will pay back when they encounter Sandstone Envelopment. London, I agree, but I'm assuming by that point we'll just inside job it. You Zahya already, otherwise Cup Extract on HQ is nasty. It is, but we know 2 cards of HQ. Like, I'm not excited for the Compilation on HQ. Like, this is a bit expensive for us. We should have drawn first. This also, cool thing with Compilation is that you don't steal or trash because of Compilation. So you get an Amakua counter. Nice. So we know Audacity, we know Maryland. No, am I out? Yeah, I'm glad we stole that. That's actually a really important card. This is such a busted card. I'll have 6 credits and then like Ice Wall into Rashida. There she is. Yeah, we have 3 of these. Manuel would have been really good too. It's a credit a turn. So probably a Maryland, probably a Maryland. And now we know the hand is Audacity. So, and we know there's an Ice Wall in hand too, right? So if we inside job this, the question is whether this is higher than 3 strength. I doof someone 4 times in 5 turns thanks to Kateria. Like, I do think there's a chance we just, we run server 6 to see if it's a virus, and then we inside job server 6. This could be an agenda, and then this is probably the Maryland. But if we inside job, he has to res both of these. So if he reses this, and it is Ice Wall, then we sail through this. I think you get Amaku to 5 in the inside job. I'm not worried about Amaku to 5 though, right? Because if it's Amaku to 5, he has to res both of these. And I'm happy with him resing both of them, I think, right? Because we know one of these is an Ice Wall. The thing that we're worried about is like, I think, what's it called? Stavka, and this beats Stavka too. Right? Like, I'm happy if he just reses, because if he reses, he doesn't have money. And then even if we want to get through this, right? Like, this is perfect. And now he has to res this, which on 2 credits he can't. GG, yeah. He had it in hand. Oof, that was brutal. Oh my. The corporation did not play. Just did not get a play game. Yeah, that opening. You could not orchestrate a better opening for the runner. Now, that is all entirely because Meteor did not ice HQ. And I would not recommend not icing HQ against Criminal. That is the worst case. Like, obviously, Swift into Joyride. But, like, that was disgusting. Yeah, that's dirt. Planogram feels nice after a doof? Yes, but Planogram doesn't often show up as a splash outside of like System Gateway and NBN decks. I should have clicked for 1 credit instead of PTB. What's PTB? Powers? Oh. I think you just ice HQ on turn 1. I can always challenge your remote, and if you res. Yeah, like even at the end of the day, like if you don't ice HQ, I run the remote server, you res the Iceland remote server, you probably can't score at the Eminent. And even if you can, I'll probably either pinhole it or boomerang or inside job it. Like a single ice is not a great place to jam your early card a lot of times. Do you think Doof and his predecessor warped the game too much? No, I think actually Doof is overall not the best card right now in the meta. There's a lot of criminal decks that are not playing it. Account Siphon, yes. Account Siphon was an absolutely messed up card. It's a 15 credit swing. But there's a lot of board states where Doof is actually worse for the runner than the corporation. This is exactly Meteor gave us the board state where that's not the case. Because there was no ice on HQ, so it was incredibly cheap. But as soon as it's like run HQ, play 3 credits, like Doof is incredibly fair. Well, okay, Doof is a power card, but I think if there's no power card associated to making a successful HQ run, like the game is less interesting. Now, I do think Doof actually can be slightly more powerful. Whether it has to have threat text to scale the length of the game so people don't get blown out turn 1, maybe you could argue that, but I'm pretty sure we're going to see a Doof replacement when this rotates out in Dawn. I'd be very surprised if Criminal doesn't have a Run HQ Money Matters card, because that's been kind of key to the game since ONR. In original Netrunner, there was actually like 2 or 3 different diversion of funds. One was Run HQ, the Corp loses 4 credits. That's all it said. And the other one was Run HQ, the Corp loses 1, you gain 10. Gain a tag, which Account Siphon warped into that. Yeah, I think Doof is like not busted. I think this is the like worst case scenario of showing how strong Doof is, but that's because we landed 2 Doofs with like very little ice. Some crims don't even play Doof. Yes. Yeah. It's not a guaranteed 3 of anymore. There's also Vamp and Ironarch. Yeah, Vamp was also an ONR, and Vamp is more of a messed up card because it fundamentally encourages pretty bad play patterns, which is like do nothing, vamp them to 0, win the game. It's like Eternal last year. The faction just doesn't have an identity without Siphon. Yeah, they need a reason to run HQ. Like, you need to be worried about icing HQ on turn 1. I think that's very good to have a card that does that, something like that. 53 card BT building a battle world. Uh-oh. This is not gonna be fun. $53 cards? Okay. Hey, Conquer, the Tithe Tangent in your deck building 101 was super helpful. Hey, glad you liked it. It highlighted a few things about ice value I never considered before in deck building. I'm super excited for the next one. Yeah, hey, glad you liked it. I think that video was like so hard for me to put out. Like at the end of the day, I recorded that whole video twice. It was like 6 hours of content. And at the end of the day, I felt like it was still slightly too long, but everything I said in that video, I'm glad I said. I did already cut out some stuff. But yeah, understanding how ice works and like the value of ice on different board states is like very important. I think we're gonna lose to this matchup. Build a Better World is weird. I don't get why you play Build a Better World over Nuvum nowadays, especially when you're playing 53 cards. But it's because you want to play a big old blockchain. Got the Doof in the opening hand versus a mulligan. I don't like this hand, I'll be honest. I'm pretty sure Zahya is going to play slow and going to play like Public Trail into line or something, at least in mulligan. What card is Vamp? So Vamp was a card, Timothy, back in the day that said run HQ. Lose as many credits as you want. The corp loses an equal amount to take a tag. So you just sat back and did nothing. I'll try and keep this. Yeah, punitive is my guess. Yeah, I think money matters, which is going to be scary because we're very aggressive and we want to float a tag. So we'll probably die to something. This deck has to be blockchain deck? Yeah, I think so. All right, install credit. 53 card deck is also going to be pretty inconsistent, so it's hard to play around it. JNet Casual Classic, yeah. Tone Flag. Positive. Solomon, do you think you joyride R&D and just have 17 cards in hand? I don't think I like it. Do you really want to do this? Probably overtune on purpose. It's 5 influence, similar to the famous account Siphon. Vamp? Or Doof? Doof is 5 influence. Now, Siphon used to be 4, if I'm not mistaken. You would send it? Okay, I'm doing this because you said you wanted to do it. But I don't know what economy we played out of this. King Solomon has spoken. Hammer? Uh-oh, this is going to be like Hyper Glacier. This card's hard for us to deal with because we want to boomerang it. It's bad. Gain 1? Jason's giving out red cards. All right, we could boomerang Hot Pursuit. Gain Zahya money. Boomerang HP. Float tags. Die. I mean, I'm with you. It's exactly credit perfect. Sure would suck for this to be 3 subroutines. I guess it's a transaction. Like, do we bravado? I guess we bravado. Big O would make the corp cry with 1 core damage. I think we'd be crying. Diogen has gone tree line. This is gonna be Hyper Glacier. We're gonna have a problem. Load bearing leech. I honestly don't know. I think we threw out the dirty laundry. What was on the top of the deck? Oh, it was the hammer. Yeah. Dirty? No. I don't. Yeah, maybe. Honestly, maybe. All right. So that's probably the hammer. Okay. So you want to draw before you install. Okay, second ice. We could ditch the boomer. Well, it did it for us, so now we're a bit more concerned. So if it's a boomerang, sorry, if it's a hammer, that's a lot of money. Dirty deeds. Okay, thinking. So this is the problem. Like, we're trying to be hyper aggro against a deck that's probably on like 7 agendas and 53 cards, which is not gonna be easy. Hammer's blank at the moment. Technically, yeah, maybe we should just run. I don't want to do leech run because Hammer eats it. Like, we'll just run HQ. Hammer does basically nothing. What was the other ice that we saw? We saw tree line. Yeah. Could you boomerang HQ doof? I think I'd rather force a res. Like, I just want to see what the cards are. If we install Manuel gets trashed by Hammer, right? What are the Hammer subroutines? Trash a resource or hardware? Yeah, that's not great. F it. Manuel for the run here seems good. No, but it loses to Hammer. So I'm assuming that's the Hammer. Government subsidy. Oh, or maybe Zahya just wants to play the subsidy. So if that's the case, we can consider doing boomerang doof just to keep it off of the money. I think that's probably correct now. Just because we don't want it to be able to click for 5 or 6 credits, right? Yeah, it is the Hammer. So the doof's not very good. The Hammer is a trash installed piece of hardware or resource. Give the runner a tag. I guess we'll just break those 2. Oh, we can't. We can only break 1. So we'll just do the tag. We saw armed asset. Yeah, but it's pretty bad with only face down cards. We'll go for the breach. Sick. And now we die to end the line. The doof doesn't stop them? It does. I think it does. Okay, so this is probably a tree line, which if it reses, we're happy. So now that we know where the hammer is, we can just run HQ forever and just float infinite tags. That's kind of fun. I guess we're gonna draw once to see what we get here. Okay, that's good. So we can always just do leech, run R&D, but as soon as we commit to a leech or Manuel, we commit to the hammer having text. So understanding how far we want to go here is tricky. Now, if we do Manuel, run R&D, I think that's probably actually kind of fine. Because it's going to be hard for it to trash this. So here, it probably has to res the tree line, which drops it down to 1 credit after the face check. And that puts him off any of the money. This is where, like, this ability hasn't done anything so far. Oh, it's a Hornum. Okay. Very similar idea. And then we'll just put down the class act and draw 4. Yeah, I think forcing the res here is good because it definitely wants to play some of its econ cards. At some point, it's just going to like play armed acid. Yeah, there you go. Armed acid for like 3 credits. Oh, not even. How bad was this? It was pretty bad. And trashing the Manuel? Oh, it's a threat 3 text. Oh, I'm a monkey. That's not correct. It's threat 3. I forgot about that. We might not want to commit to that soon. Okay, so both of these are really good against Amakua. So that's not great. How do we get purchase on this board state? We'll start by drawing. We want to get a, oh, hey, friend. I mean, that's good. But we're at the point where we're just like Mercury, or like we do Manuel inside job, which probably okay. I think I'm okay doing Manuel inside job. Someone's going to convince me not to play Mercury like this, but maybe we actually do Leech Manuel inside job on the basis that like SDSs are probably in this deck. Like, how is it going to score out? It hasn't built a remote server. Like, part of me keeps inside job to play control on the remote server because if like a Rashida goes off its bottom, and it's like bad for us, so we need to like keep that in control. But the aggro part of me wants to do like Leech, Manuel, inside job is too much money. Oh, it's all your money. Yeah, but we get 2 back. Sure, Gamble seems like good econ. We're hoping to draw into econ. I don't actually think we need a lot of econ. Like, we're not gonna be breaking these. I'd have kept Sure Gamble, I think. Shit. Yeah, I'm hoping that this converts into credits, but it might not. We have a lot of run events, though. Still can undo. I mean, okay. Yeah, that's probably right. Thanks. So now we can do Sure Gamble. We already are risking the hammer, so we might as well. Well, it's only sort of. Like, if the classic gets ruined, it's not the end of the world. So here we can do Leech Amakua and start charging. Got a head off. Thanks for showing the deck off. It's playing it super well. You're playing as well. Oh, thank you, Zach. Thanks for publishing the list, too. I think a lot of people are going to appreciate it and the write-ups you've done. I think we can just do Leech Run Archives as a start. Get a bit of information here. Like, I don't think Sarla is going to do a lot. Throwing out a blockchain sucks to see. This is the reason why people are excited to play like Building a Better World, because it scales. And like we can't beat blockchain really well. So what do we know about its hand? GovSub. Great, Hortum. So the Amakua doesn't do anything. So we're just gonna have to break this with either a lot of money, but at least it's still board state hasn't done anything. Hammer's really, really rough. Jailbreak, yeah, but we can't. Like, we can't break Hortum, we can't break Hammer. The jailbreak's not very good. I think we actually keep the steel skin. Like, we need to get our Carmen down. I got totally rolled by a Zahya deck last night. It puts on good pressure if you understand the matchup. Yeah, and I think a lot of it is just put on good pressure. Because the issue is if we get Amakua run archives, like the Hammer, we have to break only one of the subroutines, right? So trash a resource with piece of hardware is like not great for us. Distractor, killer, or decoder means it trashes the Amakua. But this is like really 2 very bad ice for our aggressive board state. Arguably too many cards installed. So even Boomerang can't break the subroutines on this really well. Yeah, Hammer's going to really slow us down. Forcing real breakers, yeah. And we don't have mutual favor. Like, we have to draw into our 1 of Carmen and 23 cards. Slightly less than that because we've class acted a bit. What can we do here? Like, this is where I kind of want to just do like inside job and rip essentials. At this point, Zahya probably has cards in hand, right? Agendas in hand. Maybe we just install this. Our opponent still has to win the game. I know, but like, I don't want to be stuck in this game. Like a 53 card build a better world. It's going to be like an hour and a half game if we don't try and close it aggressively. I guess. Keeping Class Act might have been fine. We might have wanted to pay that much money just to see 4 more cards. Save TC for after this one gets trashed to hammer. I don't know if we can afford it. Okay, now this is bad because we need to put the pressure on because it is going to, like, it's done nothing so far. It just played econ cards. But it's going to have a 6 credit econ button next turn. So we need to draw a doof here. And even then, like, Boomerang doof kind of sucks. Installing the Amaku is bad. Yeah, we really interact really poorly with this ice. We just need to get multi-axis. We might need a shuffle to get the our Manuel back up on our deck. Because again, this is not good. I think we just let Class Act get trashed and we just keep going through this and just keep floating tags. Actually, that's probably the play. But that means we can't install Swift. So if we go here, we are at 3. We go here on 4. Yeah, we need a diversion. Okay, that's fine. Just draw Carmen and BD. So now we run through this. We can break it for 1 credit. Not great. It's not going to stop it doing its like 6 credit econ play, and that's when the game slips away because the blockchains hit the table. So we really needed to doof this turn. The other options we can inside job for singles, but that feels really, really bad. The only multi-axis we can attach to inside job, I believe, is Manuel, which is in the bottom of our stack. I think we'll run HQ and just lose the Class Act. Or Cup? Yeah, you're right, or Cup. But Cup is really hard into hammer. We actually can't Cup into hammer. Can break the Pro Trash up? Yeah, that's the only one we're going to break. You're already breaking the program sub? So the thing is, if you don't have a killer, you can only break 1 subroutine on hammer. So we can't. Like, unless we have our Carmen down, we can't. We can only break 1 subroutine on hammer ever. Unless we do Amaku and Boomerang. This gives you credit. Port him. We're going to lose. I put hammer and PD and didn't work. I think hammer's really good. I think it's actually like a game-losing face check into some folks. And unfortunately here, I think it's going to like just sit back and dirtle, hoard him on HQ, and we probably have to like get really lucky on the inside job on R&D. This is like, yeah. The term dirtle comes up often. I do think this ID. Oh. Oh, that's fun. We have another Amakua, right? I think we're okay with that. Yeah, we have another Amakua. I was surprised to see that happen. Hammer loses to Persephone, Mills super hard. That must be bad. It's true. Yeah. I don't know. These are the games where like we don't have a win condition. We're waiting for our opponent to you know, stop playing the game. Feels bad. Okay, so we can do Swift. We don't want to Swift into the hammer. I'm gonna go versus a hammer horn. It feels bad. I think that's one way to cut it. So I think we Boomerang the hammer just to protect our leech, and then we Hot Pursuit. So we can draw once more. Okay. The problem is as soon as we install our Swift, we can't. So I'm just doing this because it does something. This also shuffles our deck, which we want to do because of Manuel. So we'll protect our leech. Oh, you can, yeah, give us a tag. That's important, maybe. Sick. All right, we can win. Shuffle that back. So that shuffles the deck, which is important. So now we just need to get 1 inside job, ideally with a Manuel. Planogram, no! It's a turns action. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Draw through game 3-6. So I'm assuming it top deck that, because that's a really good play. It would have happened already. Leech, key, SDS fodder, yeah. That's why I'm protecting the leech. Like, you might think we can just throw it to the hammer, but I need to keep the leech because his deck is probably running SDS. It probably has another agenda in hand. And with playing 53 cards, it's like just less likely you'll find SDS, your spin doctors. So being aggressive is okay. It's back. If I don't find anything good here, I will inside job HQ. Like, I honestly think Swift inside job HQ is fine. If we install Swift for 2 credits to gain a click back, honestly, not great. on this turn particularly. Like we could do Swift inside job and then just sure gamble. It's whatever. If that's the case, though, we should just do inside job Amakua. Because no matter what, we're happy with Amakua Leech getting up to 4. I mean, okay. Maybe wait until Manuel. It's 1 in 19. We have 3 inside jobs and 3 boomerangs, so I'm not too precious about it. Once we get a boomerang, we'll do like boomerang Hordem R&D. Corporate hospitality? Oh no, for a blockchain. I mean, the Corp deck has to do something, right? So we're assuming that's a blockchain. That's fine. We have another inside job in hand. So now we can run HQ, no problem. It cost us 1 credit. So let's try and draw a run event, hopefully a jailbreak. Okay. So now we can see 2 cards in hand. There might be an agenda in archives. Boomerang dunks on border control. Damn, he's good. Yeah, I know. This was the best card we could get on HQ here. So we'll drop this down to 0. Oh, no, we'll lose one of these. Actually, no, well, that's the one subroutine will break. Never mind. Run remote for Turtle? We could. We're assuming it's a blockchain, and if it's a blockchain, it's pretty bad for us. Pharos? Okay, that's really big. Blockchain? Okay, so it might not be a blockchain. I'm assuming this is not a blockchain. Gain 2. Getting the crew period down is reasonable. I want to keep our money up so we don't get Trojan horsed again. Amakua Leech. We could run archives. We might run into another hammer, which is the problem, and that eats our Amakua, so we have to be slightly careful. I think we draw here and discard. Yeah, Doof will maybe do something. The hammer's a bit hard. Install Kurapira? I don't think I want to. I want to keep it as a surprise so that if it pushes behind like a barrier, we can be like Kurapira run. Can't break Hordem with Amakua? You know, I know. It's triple events. Yeah, we're not going to run R&D until we have an inside job or a boomerang. Hedge fund. Okay, so not sure what this is. We haven't seen any installables. So this might not be a blockchain. If it's hammer, it's pretty bad. So our options is we can inside job this remote server. Let's just start with the steel skin. Okay, if we do a boomerang, this is our first boomerang. And, oh no, second boomerang. We lost one to an overinstall. Now, if it's boomerang into, what's it called? Into blockchain. Blockchain has too many subroutines to break with boomerang. Inside job it. I kind of like inside job is the only way to get through Hordem, but I guess we can always just boomerang this. Yeah, we might just inside job it. We can do inside job, install Carmen. I don't really care about installing a Swift. Yeah, I'll just check what this is. I'm assuming it's a Rashido or spin. Holloman. Okay, yeah, money matters. So we want to keep our money up. Swift, IJ, remote, Carmen, boom, doof. Swift, inside job, remote, Carmen, boom, doof. It's probably not going to work because we're assuming that this is the big barrier. Right, like this is probably the blockchain. Literally, yeah, clicks might be an issue. I just don't want to get hit here. We're probably going to get hit by another Trojan horse. At least like maybe with 20 cards here. You can always monkeys into Trojan horse. Carmen Doof, there's a blockchain outside of HQ. It's not going to work. And even then, like that's a bad Doof, right? Like installing the Carmen costs 3, breaking hammer costs like 6. And so we're doing a Doof to drop them it from 20 to 15. Like this is what I mean, where Doof can actively be pretty bad. We probably do nothing for a couple turns. Technically, blockchain can be broken by boomerang no matter how many subs it has. Oh yeah, that's a good point actually, because only the last one really ends the run. Otherwise, it's just a credit swing. Yeah, that's very important. Yeah, that's a good point. This is why would people play Hyperglacian Jade and Casual? I don't know. People enjoy it. So here, I think we do install the Kurapira. Like maybe we just face check archives. HQ might be loaded at this point. Maybe it's hard to tell. The problem is like the hammer's doing work. I think we just wait a bit for it to flood up. Like, I think we might just want to install Carmen and click for 3 credits. I don't know. We're not expecting a lot of defensive upgrades. So as long as we can run the remote at some point, we're going to be okay. You just face check HQ. If it's a blockchain, it's really bad for us. And it like probably doesn't do anything and just goes to 30 credits. And then like once we run once, we just get Trojan horsed and lose our Kurapira. If we lose our Kurapira, we don't lose. See what's what? The problem is like the what's are pretty bad, right? So this is blockchain, which we're expecting to be on HQ. And if we face check into it, how many subroutines is it going to have? So it gains one of these subroutines for every 2 face-up transactions. There are 1, 2, like this is how you build the deck, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it will have lose 6, gain 6 functionally, which is not a face check we want to take for many reasons. I don't think we want to run HQ. Like I think we just want to sit back, basically get our Manuel and then just do boomerang inside job. Boom the Horde and run R&D and just rip. Let's get out of here. I think we're going to wait with 12 cards left for our Manuel and just set up for a Manuel turn. I think it's going to be that simple. If anything, we should be running archives and checking what archives is. Like this is our second boomerang. So we could probably just boomerang archives, check archives. We can also compilation archives to get a transaction out there. Like that's a better way to get into HQ is to do the compilation. I think we can consider boomerang compilation. The scoring window for this deck is when the runner rage quits. Honestly, yes, to some extent. And that's why you just want to be cautious. You don't want to overextend because if you ever face check and then have to pay like 16 credits, like then they suddenly have a window. But the problem is like, it doesn't seem like this deck is good at encouraging us to interact. And if you don't encourage to interact, they can sit back with their teleworks and do whatever they want. This might be an overextension. I don't think we need to compilate this. Boredom. Okay. I think stranding the boomerang might have been a thing, but I do think it's also important for them not to allow archives to be a free run. So the card that was discarded was a hedge fund. No surprise. This run's actually pretty bad for us because we might get Trojan horsed. Yeah, I regret this run. In immediate hindsight, this run was probably wrong. I think we just draw and throw out a doof. We have a Cat's Cradle and a Manuel in 11 cards. Technically, we just shuffled, so it's full 11. We don't know the bottom with Class Act. We haven't had a Class Act for a while. But we did touch a card, and touching a card is the thing that turns on Trojan Horse, which like, it's a card that incentivizes this sort of play pattern, which is do nothing, get money. How does Crim make money against ICE all servers? They can't. They inherently can't. You click for credits. You can break the prog sub on hammer and be fine. Cup something from the bin and jailbreak HQ. This is going to be a 8 subroutine barrier. We're not in a rush to do it. Like if anything, we want to do compilation on HQ, inside job, R&D. Like how do you win the game? Like time gets called, right? This is what we want, right? So here we just click for 3 credits and do nothing. We need a border control to farm Kura. It's up to it not to res one and give us that ability, which they won't. They'll just pop the border control. Like we do nothing, it does nothing. Just click for 4 turns until you're ready. Exactly, yeah. Sundarian, that's the plan. It's like we have all our breakers. All we have to do is click for 4. The only thing we lose to in the remote server is Holloman, but we have the above the law, not that we have resources. Can farm archives? We can. Can we? We have to spend 2 and 2 to gain 2. I don't think we actually farm Jason. I think we just do nothing, right? Because we have to spend 2 leech counters. Seamless for ice. Okay, so this is the Pharos. Okay, so they have another seamless in hand. This could be seamless for an agenda. It's neutral, but turtle gets stronger. Why wouldn't you? Yeah, that's actually true. Turtle does get stronger, doesn't it? Because you spend 2 to go up 1, get up 1. So this is a 10 strength. How many more inside jobs do we have in the list? I think 1. Yeah, we have 1 inside job and 10 cards. This is an advanceable card, right? How did the advancement come on this card? So if we inside job this, we go through a 10 strength Pharos, and then we're assuming this is like either a massive, not even that massive actually. I'm assuming it's a tree line. This is why you need Iru. I wouldn't go that far. So 3 agendas and 26 cards. Yeah, when it comes to like paying a 53 card deck, like it just, sometimes it's, the numbers get more inconsistent to some way it feels like when the deck gets bigger, but I think that's a fallacy. All right, so we get it to spend 7 credits on a Pharos. We're pretty happy. If it's a, what's it called? A Colossus, it's pretty bad for us. I bet it's Rashid or Spin. It could be. I'm assuming if it uses Seamless like that, it's probably not. I'm assuming it has another Seamless in hand and then it wants to score out like an Atlas with a counter. Atlas with the counter is really frightening because we're 5 tags, right? Like if there's one card that kills us, it'll find it. So we probably just run archives here. We can break this for 1 and give it a credit potentially. If we also cupulation to HQ and then like try and steal a seamless, that might be worth something. I'm assuming this is gonna be a 7 credit res, and this is gonna be 4 strength, and we can break most of the subroutines. Then if that is the case though, we can't break the hammer that easily. Inside job would be very good here. No, that's not bad. We can bravado archives. Get Amakua up to 3. This also, we have to watch out if it's a Mavirus, but I don't know if you play a Mavirus in a 53 card deck. Your influence actually goes like, it's pretty constricted because you want to play all these weird stuff. So this is 3, Seamless for 5. This is 6, Corporate Hospitality 7, 8. Red level clearance sometimes shows up in these lists. 53 cards and it's 3 agendas and 30 cards. Do they just manual cup sweep HQ in 1 run? Yeah, I just don't know if it has to be this turn. I agree though. If this is a Basalt Spire, like stealing the Holloman from the bin is like worth something. I think we just continue to set up. Will we give it a credit or not? I don't think we will. It might be right to challenge the server. It doesn't have that much money. No credit. It's weird to say 22 credits don't get a credit, but I think I just want to steal the Holloman. And I'll draw for hand size. Swift. Bummer. So now at any point in time, we can thread running HQ. We're assuming this gets rezzed for about 7. Hammer, we can still break. We're now moving just leech counters to Amaku counters. I don't love it. Oh, it's just a Spin Doctor. Sick. Okay. So I'm glad we got the Holloman out there. They're probably gonna shuffle back. I'm surprised they didn't shuffle back the what's it called? The one that kills us. The Trojan. But it's Seamless and Tree Line. Okay, still 22 cards left in R&D. Now, after the Spin Doctor draw, they drew 3 cards that turn, so we're incentivized now to swipe HQ. What happens when the Corp manual purges? It's bad for us. We hope that they don't. It's just very bad for us if they do. So 15 credits. If we jailbreak HQ, we see most of HQ. Now we have to assume that this is a barrier, otherwise we're going to have problems. We also could have installed the Carmen, but we have MU issues if we don't install our Swift. Now, if we install our Carmen, we actually just break Hammer. This is a virus. It's kind of bad for us. I think we just jailbreak HQ. See what happens. We're assuming this will get rezzed. We boost for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We probably break for 8. And then we break Hammer for 1. Yeah, I'm just going to send it. I'm assuming that this is the barrier that scales. If it's a board control, it's bad. Yeah, there's the blockchain. That's what we thought it was. All right, they pay 7. So we're going to break all of it for 10. No big deal. We're going to make 4 cards back from this. Then we break this for 1. The virus would be res now. It's not fantastic. We can only break 1 subroutine. Running Archives would save you using Kurapira. Yeah, it would. That only saves us 3 credits though. This is probably GG. They're typing. Archer. Oh, Eminent. Okay. Basalt. Okay, good. Woof. Yeah. Points got to go somewhere. It's only 15 turns. Thanks for the game. What was in the remote? What was drowning? Yeah, so that's the thing. It's like when you play a 53 card deck, your deck is going to be pretty inconsistent. And so like getting Agenda Flood, it seems like you can blame the game for it, but there's reasons why I like playing fewer cards. It just makes the deck more consistent and you end up in the extreme categories a bit less often. Also like the fact that it's, you know, this turn and you're maybe threatening your first points. It's a Rashida, right? Like the less often you push in the remote server, the more ice you put on central servers, the more likely you end up in situations where this does happen. It's not even 53 cards. I think it is. Is it flood if they drawn half their points with 22 left in R&D? 3, 4, 5, 6. No, not exactly. It's more flood because they didn't like move the game forward, so the cards have to go somewhere. We never put an agenda remote. Yeah, exactly. How to bait out a run. I think I never run the remote. You have so much work to do. Stavka and R&D. Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, they were flooded because we never dealt with them. I agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, Stavka is something I wouldn't have played around. I'm more worried about like a Colossus is what I would expect because this is the sort of deck that wants advanced cards. But I have no reason to run the remote server anymore because it has a lot of time and a lot of money spent in the remote server when it's on 0 points. If it's on 5 points, we have to consider running the remote server. If it's on 0 points, you can have the remote server. We're going to win on centrals. Only HQ is vulnerable? Yeah, we'll take it. I've been drawing agendas. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We've seen no points on the table. They gotta be somewhere. Stop getting off to get boomeranged or broken for 6 and jack out. Only 6 if we have our Carmen down, and I don't know if we would install our Carmen. Maybe before face checking we would. Hey, thanks again. But this is cool. It's like the mixture of like aggro, but also controlled aggro. I think its ice suite was really, really good into us. Like Hammer and Horde, I don't think you can ask for better ice in the early game. In the early game is where we're the strongest, and they really did slow us down and made us stumble. Like we can't commit to a lot of our value pieces. If this doesn't work out, we set up Manuel and we go for like at some point. But also a very specific thing you can learn is that we went for the HQ run after the Spin Doctor fired, and the Spin Doctor did not shuffle any face down cards from archives. Because after a Spin Doctor turn or after Rashida turn, the corporation draws 3 or 4 cards. And when they draw 3 or 4 cards, they often draw an agenda, you know, in 1 in every 5 cards. So 1 in every 3 cards, 1 every 4 cards, that's probably an agenda. That's a really nice time to sweep HQ. I never know what to do in this kind of matchup. No idea how you win. Hopefully I explained a lot of how I think about this matchup, but all Timothy you want to do is firstly, don't stress. Like this is one of the biggest things you can do in any game that you learn is relax. Relax. One of the best things, one of the ways that most runners lose is like, look at your opponent's board state. How many, if you walked away and put a little like water bird on your keyboard that just hit click for credit and you walked away, how many turns would it take for your opponent to win? And if the answer is I can make a sandwich and come back, which again, tone flag positive, that means you can play slower. Like you don't have to do anything risky when your opponent is not forcing you or requiring you, bending your arm to do something risky, right? So for us, we were aggro until we had to be aggro, and then we kind of slipped back to playing control. I think a lot of players like just overextend. Like the PE deck is on 0 points and you're making risky accesses on R&D. Like don't do that. And in this case, like there was so little we had to do. There's so much work our opponent had to do before we had to do little work. I run too much, played S against Glacial and had no clue. Yeah. Another thing that you can do that I think it's actually very, very useful, specifically in System Gateway, is always have an idea of how much money you need to run the remote server if that's something you want to do, and don't overextend. A lot of players overextend running R&D. I don't like running R&D. I think running R&D is a trap, especially for newer players. This comes up so often when we're playing against newer players, is that R&D is open, I'm going to run R&D. R&D is iced, I'm going to run R&D. The top card of R&D is just random. It is random. Usually that means there's a 20% chance that card on top of R&D is an agenda. 20% chance is not great odds. Now that being said, there's reasons to run R&D, but it's 20%. Say running R&D costs us 4 credits. On this board state, should we spend 4 credits to have a 20% chance to steal an agenda? That means on average, we have to spend, what is the math? 20 credits to steal an agenda. You see what I mean? That's a thing that commonly new players do, is they make single accesses because they think they need a touch cards to win the game, which is technically true. But when that single access costs you 4 to 5 credits to have a 20% chance to find an agenda, that's not sustainable. You got to stop doing that. And that's when you play too aggressive as a runner and realize you run out of money halfway through the game. Now, luckily, our deck is actually really good at making single accesses. Every single access gives us a leech counter, which means that we get a credit back. Zahya, we get a credit back. Amakua, we functionally get more than a credit back, let alone our run events. So now when we jailbreak R&D, we're paying like 1 credit to see 3 cards. So we can afford to be a bit more aggressive. And that's the beauty of this deck specifically. But just keep that in mind. It's like a lot of times look at your boards, they'd be like, wait, am I going to actually pay 5 credits for the top card of R&D? And the answer is save that money and camp at the remote server. Save that money, wait a couple turns, and run HQ, where the agendas will flood in there because your opponent doesn't feel like they have a remote server because we're being aggressive. You know what I mean? A turn where you click for credits is hard to work out as a new player. I hear you, and I think expressing that is actually very important. And all I want to say is that on that board state, we were set up. All we have to do is wait. The longer we wait, our opponent gets uncomfortable. If our opponent doesn't think it has a good remote server, the agendas have to go somewhere. They end up in HQ, and then we'll just make 1 run on HQ and win the game. It's not up to us to run R&D and spend 17 credits to see a single card. It probably would have been 17 credits. It still was hard. Hordem is really difficult for us to deal with. But you know what I mean? At any point in time before you do something, think like, what does this cost? And then the opportunity cost of it is like, okay, if I spend 9 credits to see the top card of R&D, is our opponent just going to put an agenda on the remote server and I can't run it because I spent 9 credits? Probably that too. Kato, it was a good moment to log in. I came in 3rd at local CEO the past weekend because I ran into Taya HQ with 3 cards in hand while I had a Fuji in my score and they had nothing. Yeah, Yeah, that happens a lot. Dying to ganked too sometimes happens there, but Kato, yeah. Hey, well done on 3rd place, but you just don't have to take risks if you're ahead. And here we did not have to take risks. Seeing you off to go to work on a pop-up VTM session. Thanks again for the awesome content. Hey, Bloody Mud, thanks for the kind words. Enjoy the vampires, huh? I think that's what VTM is, right? If not, enjoy it. Where the wild agendas are. Kyle, how you doing? The remote has a winning agenda, but R&D could be anything, even a winning agenda. Yeah, I know. That's the fallacy that runs into. It's like, oh, but also R&D is exciting. I think that's like one of the worst things about R&D is like R&D is, ooh, what am I going to get? I could win. And there's so many games where you run R&D on a single and steal points and it feels good. It's like the Skinner box, right? You got to stop letting it feel that good. Running R&D is often not the right play. Some runners can sit back and without touching cards with Deep Diver Twinning or Devil Charm Crew. Devil Charm Crew is a bit more aggressive because you are inherently Amakua a leech deck. Usually you have to actually interact, but you're not wrong by the others. Ooh, outfit. Outfit can be a bit frightening. Thanks, you too. Good old Tony Hawk Pro Skater. One of my local friends calls R&D a slot machine. I know, and like slot machines are compelling. Let's say that. One thing I like about NSG is that they give all the factions ways to win without touching cards, so corps can't wall up. Well, besides criminal, but okay, so let's talk about this. Outfit wants to get to 4 bad publicity because then regulatory capture becomes a 2/2 agenda they can score from hand. Aku also has hostile takeovers, which bad publicity pretty good. All the ice in this deck is pretty frightening. It's 6 strength. The 6 strength is really hard for us to deal with because it's very expensive, let alone Amakua has to struggle to get to that. So we want to face check before we install cards because Trebuchet doesn't do anything. Trebuchet is a sentry that trashes an installed card. If you don't have installed cards, it's a really bad res for our opponent. And they Aku kept. Now this hand has Manuel. Early Manuel is probably not that great. Inside Job is whatever. Jailbreak, Dirty Laundry are good cards. But I think we might just go ahead and mulligan this. I'm imagining our deck is pretty consistent at drawing okay hands. This hand is, I think, strictly better. Hey, Eddie, what deck are you running? This is getting hit for self-defense. It's like a slightly tag me, very like straightforward aggro Zahya. I think you might enjoy this a fair bit. I'll have the link in the description. If you search this deck list, you'll find it. But Solomon got into the top cut of UK Nationals with it. He's been playing this list for a while. It's very, very cool. Just very strong fundamentals. I like it a lot. Hey, Veronica, I'm doing good. How's your life too? I'm okay. We put out a video yesterday that turned out pretty well, and it's been a while since we made content, which feels good to get back on that horse. All right, single ice on HQ. I honestly, the bad face check here is what's called Valen Chow, which is pretty bad. It will end the run. Otherwise, here we can just start like an Amakua run R&D. It's not great. We're going to need a Boomeranger inside job. I saw that video. Looks fantastic. I haven't had a chance to watch it. Yeah, it's an hour and like 45 minutes, which is a bit too long, arguably. It's a hard bridge to deal with, but I think it turned out okay. Okay, this hand, it's hard to play. I don't want to go down to, I'll draw for a gamble or something. Yeah. Okay. So we can do a sure gamble Amakua. If we get Amakua to 6, we can actually be really aggressive. And we definitely want to run R&D here. Not because it's open, but because it gives us a credit with Zahya and an Amakua. Okay, well. The read, yeah. Call what you want to draw into. Like, this is the thing. This happens all the time on the channel. It's happened already like 3 times a day where we say, I want to draw into this, and then I draw into it. And it's not because I am like, I can see the future. It's because you plan your turn. And then if you plan your turn, you're often rewarded because you do a thing and you look really clever because you did a bit of planning. Stealing the hostile is really good because Aku would have scored it out. We didn't get an Amakua counter, but whatever. Can also just hammer the bin to get turtle up to 6. I wouldn't say quickly, but yeah, we can. The story is better and worse when I admit that I knew it was likely an Anansi, so I looked at my hand with 4 and said I could survive a face plan. I proceeded to forget how to count and play range jobs. Oh no. Sorry, Kato. Okay, so this is maybe worth inside jobbing. It might force a res and a border control, but the early card here is probably either a Rashida, and I don't want a Rashida to fire. I don't think it's the best use of inside job, but it's definitely a use of inside job. We can draw once and then inside job this remote server, then run R&D, probably draw again. That's fine. Getting a compilation down early is okay because we find like an annoying piece of ice. We'll probably steal an annoying piece of ice. It's gonna be the top card. The other thing that we can steal is potentially like a big deal or an audacity. That's really strong. So we're assuming this is a Rashida. It's a Rashida. It's usually what happens. So we'll trash that. I don't want to face check into the ice. Normally you should be face checking, but if it's a Trebuchet, it's not great for us. I honestly think we do compilation run R&D. It just gets us a credit and Amakua counter. We're slightly behind here. I think we're going to steal that. All right, that's another really good steal. You can't have a 10 credit button, as much as we would appreciate bad publicity. Lots of Wayland today, for sure. Wayland's fun. All right, Hostile. We have a bad publicity. It's on its first bad pub. So we need an inside job here. Sorry, we need a Boomerang specifically to get Boomerang into Hot Pursuit, but HQ's R&D is still wide open. That's not great. We're going to draw again for a Jailbreak or a Dirty Laundry. You see what happens? You see what I mean? Data loop. Okay, so this is actually very important. This data loop means that this is a punitive Counter-Strike deck. So cards in hand and economy matters. You only play this if you're playing the sort of like Lady Killer deck from Worlds last year, which means it's on punitive. It means it's on City Works Project. So if we don't have enough money and we steal an agenda, we will die to double punitive. Luckily, we have 2 steel skins, but that's a very important card to find on top of R&D. So money actually is going to matter into this matchup. Now we have Boomerang into Do for Boomerang to Hot Pursuit, depending on how this goes. All the ice will be about 2 subroutines. There is 1 3 subroutine ice on Valenchow. It's not that important. Hey Jake, how's it going? Thanks for the video about deck building. So cool and useful. Glad you liked it. I think it turned out pretty okay, and I'm excited to put some more stuff out. I was like not surprised how much, like there was a lot of good feedback being like, this is the sort of content I wanted, because I will agree, and I'm mostly dissing myself. There hasn't been enough content, I think, to introduce deck building to Netrunner, unfortunately. And it's, well, I am at least glad there's some stuff. The Trevor Valenchow, they click for credits. Oh, maybe. I was trying to build a Doof Zahya deck for meetups tonight. I like this. Not a lot of Zahya decks, for what it's worth, do play Doof. Classically, some do, some don't, because it just doesn't work with Zahya's ability. But this deck does want to put on a lot of pressure, so it can do it. Streamer locator heat. All right, so we have to watch out. This is easily the data loop. On the outside means we can inside job it. So here we can do a couple things. We can do Boomerang into Hot Pursuit. I think this deck is maybe on punitive, but not on end of line. So we can actually float tags relatively fine. So if we do Boomerang, Hot Pursuit, Manuel, Run R&D, like we just die to punitive a lot of the time. So we'll find out. What's your console? Swift. 3 Swift. I think we could do it. Boomerang Doof, I don't really like that much because we don't get the Amakua counter. I don't think we flush Copulation here. I think if it has an agenda, Aku would put in the remote server. So I don't think we actually use the Copulation. Boom Manuel HP. Oh yeah, we might as well put that. Yeah, I'm okay. This is risky actually. We could die to Snare. Why didn't we face check the remote server for that inside job? Because giving a bad publicity to the outfit is something you want to avoid doing. Valenchow. Okay, so now we have 2 bad publicity. Once they hit 4, so break 2 subroutines. So runner loses 2. We don't care about that. End the run, obviously we break that. And it's either do we want the corp to have less money or us to have less money. Interesting. I think the corp having less money is okay. Flush cup to Hot Pursuit. I don't know if we flush the cup here. I'm not sure if it's going to actually connect. Like with punitive, we don't want to steal that many points. We want to be a bit careful with Copulation. Because if it's a punitive deck guaranteed. And so we want to be slightly cautious. So I think we just see 2 cards here. This is risky. Like this could lose us the game. I don't think we have to lose the game here. Now, obviously we'll get more money from Zahya, but I think getting 2 cards from Zahya is enough. Because like we have 3 cards in hand. We're going to die to punitive if we see too many cards here. Even if we see a 3-pointer, we might be in a bad spot. If this is Rashida. So I'm just going to see 2. Under the bus, yeah. Oh, Manuel! Under the bus, Manuel! Manuel! Oh no. As additional cost to trash this research with the basic action. So yeah, that's not good. No! He was so young. So now we can't run R&D because we'll die to punitive if we're unlucky. If you see a single 3-pointer, you might live. They don't have a ton of cash. They have more than us. And the problem is they can always like, not that I think Aku has it, but you can always do like punitive, too big to fail punitive, stuff like that. Why the basic action limitation there? Because I think it's the same text on our friend Seb, and it's to make the cards like Trust Operation see more play. He was so young. Seemed like a great video. I sounded like you were going to try and do a video for every gateway ID. What are you planning to do next? Next, we're going to build a runner deck. It'll be a Zahya deck. Then from that point on, we'll build a Damage Matters Corp deck. And then we'll build, I think, an aggressive Anarch. From that point, I don't know. We're going to do some videos where the decks play against each other. Server 1 didn't move. I would guess either this is an agenda that Aku didn't want to score out, like the one of above the on the list, or actually very likely that this is Angelique setting up at the remote server. So now drawing into a Jailbreak would be sick. We probably want to contest Spin Doctor sooner than later. Valenchow, notably, we can just beat by having more money. Yeah, so I think we run R&D for a single, gain a credit, gain an Amakua counter. Once we get to 6, it also could be Mavirus. I think this list was running 3 Mavirus. That's also very likely that this is a Mavirus, because Mavirus also does damage. We can like run R&D, run Spin Doctor, run R&D. I think we should run Spin Doctor first. Well, no, because we're going to shuffle these cards back in, and we don't care about those cards. Tell me there's a segment trashing on Marjana. No, not actually that bad. I'm very clear that Cleaver sees more play. 3 bad publicities is not a good start. Yeah, this looks like it's exactly the list. Magnet. This was played from Odo's list last year. We're okay if Aku draws Magnet, so I don't want to run the Spin Doctor. I guess we just play the Swift last click? That feels bad. Nah, let's just get an Amakua counter. I do think this is a Mavirus, though, so this is actually probably not a good run. We probably should just draw and throw out a Doof. I feel Doof doesn't really matter here because the corpse on 15. Do you agree or not? I sort of agree. The fact that we're holding one too big to fail makes it a bit better, but having money matters with Valenchow. Also, if they're on big deal, which they're not, and they're on punitive, money does matter slightly more than it might. But you're not wrong. It's not amazing. It's just not unplayable. Played the Lady Killer outfit for UK Nats COS. My opponent tanked T Trebuchet losing Swift, and Cat's Cradle still double deep dived me. This deck is weak to Central's pressure. Yeah, and R&D is wide open. I think Aku icing up HQ is either respect for Fursuit and Diversion, or because its hand is not very good. Unrelated to what's on the screen right now, but I know you play some Arkham. Preview cards are starting to pop up the Drowned City. Mine is happening next week, December 3rd. Oh, sick. That's really, really soon. Veronica, what did you think about the 2 cards that were previewed on that Greek channel, I think it was? 2 cards have come out so far, but the preview season is just starting, which is really exciting. Doof is so bad for Zahya because you kind of want to run once per turn and Steve and it denies accesses. Yeah, it's a bit anti-synergistic, but with Swift, it's a bit easier. With Econ Pressure, it's a bit easier. So this might be the first agenda. I think it's either on top of Mavirus or on top of Angelique. So here, face tracking to this, we probably would have to boomerang it. We only do this if we can find a Dirty Laundry. And that's kind of a Dirty Laundry. If we do Boomerang Bravado, Aku probably shouldn't res this. So we could do Swift Boomerang Bravado. Oh. Don't res. That was a misclick. I tried to click on one motorcycle and I clicked on the wrong motorcycle. Not the best bravado, but it's clickless, so it's pretty good. If you see a single 3-pointer, you might live. They don't have a ton of cash. Yeah, here we're doing okay. I think not resing into the boomerang is both good for us and also bad for us. We know the hand is, this is probably a magnet. We know the hand is likely, well, it does have under the bus in it. There's an Angelique. We can trash this for free, and then Aku draws a new card. This card actually does matter because it is just like a ping of damage. Now we can go back and see another card. If drawing another card doesn't stop us from dying to double punitive, so I'm just gonna run this. Again, I think this is a Mavirus. So we want to steal City Works from R&D if anywhere. Spin Doctor is getting used now. Cool. Garza. So hedge fund off the top is whatever. Oh, I'm really behind on chat. Yo, it's Changeling. How's it going? Could have been Tucana Malapert Data Vault. I think we know that this is like Odo's list from Worlds last year. It looks like it so far. Maybe there's been changes since. I'd be surprised. But that's what it looks like. I'd love to see you go through your thought process when tuning a deck. I think building a deck could be easy, but deciding what works, what doesn't, and how to fix it is really challenging for me. Yeah, that's a really hard thing to deal with. And we don't do a lot of it on the channel. We do some, because a lot of times we play a deck for a while, and then next stream we play something else. Now, you do sometimes see it midstream. That's really good for us. It's just a blank 3-2. So here we need to find, again, like a jailbreak or some way to see more cards in R&D. The scary thing is if we run HQ and a Mavirus gets rezzed, it's pretty bad for us. I'm assuming this is a Mavirus. We've seen one Angelique so far. And so we want to make sure that a Trebuchet doesn't just trash Ramakua. I mean, that's what we want. Hey, Ren, was super excited to see the new deck building vid. Was just trying to recruit some friends who were disenchanted from MTG, and I couldn't find any learn to play videos to refer them to. Yeah, it's a weird, like, empty spot. Not that there's, like, she's back. Okay, that's good. So now we have to not die to punitive this turn. If we don't die to punitive this turn, we probably won't die to punitive all game because it's very hard to die to punitive when you're on 4 points. So now all we have to do is have enough cards in hand, which we already do. So it's probably in our best interest just to get credits here, because Aku has to do double punitive. If we're on 5 cards in hand, it doesn't change anything. As much as we could draw into one of our steel skins, we'll draw once because we can hit an econ card. Oh, well, now we just never die to punitive. Cool. How powerful would a lockdown that prevented a corp from getting money for a turn if you ran HQ that turn be? Hard to say. Hard to say. It'd be annoying. It'd be annoying. It'd be wild to be like, what do I do with Rashida? It's an interesting design space though. Can't wait to see system gateway matches, as I love to see a focus on fundamentals in action. It'll be a real video to share with new players as well. I know we have a couple new players. I think this purge is not particularly strong. It kind of incentivizes that there, or maybe it says there's not a virus in here, but like you generally often don't want to purge while central servers are open, because we can just run archives 4 times and it basically just time locks yourself, right? Like we could spend our turn doing nothing and rebuild our board state. Now here we're going to have to discard some cards, which is okay, but like often purging while central servers are open is not the thing to be doing. It just is really, really rough. Now, us having this many cards in hand makes it harder for us to rebuild. There's the magnet, so now the boomerang's getting used. The purge seems like Akku didn't have better options. Yeah, which is like good for us. Okay. Yes. So, can't get punitive to that. So now we have Amakua Leech. If we get Cat's Cradle, we break this really cheaply with bad publicity. So we can just do Cat's Cradle, run back. Oh, yeah, it didn't shuffle back. Thank you for catching that. Yeah, Boomerang seems a bit broken. Hey, Sweet. I'm behind on chat. Sorry if I missed a message. I'll catch up in chat halfway through this game. Boomerang's bugged. I don't know why Boomerang is bugged. We have to keep a watch out for that, but Boomerang sometimes just doesn't get shuffled back in. Okay, so what do we want to do here? We can install 2 cards. We can install Cat's Cradle. It's fine. It's really good. We can install Kurapira. The big thing that we're scared of is Sentries because of Trebuchet. We haven't played a run event this turn. Valen Chow, in theory, we can beat. Bad Felicity counts for your credit pool. The problem is that if this is a Trebuchet, it gets res, and that's pretty bad for us. So I'm assuming that this has to be an Angelique if Purge happened, because you'd rather Purge with them a virus than spending your turn, usually. So we could just do Cat's Cradle. We could also just do Boomerang on here, and then Hot Pursuit HQ. That's probably fine. Because the Valen Chow hits, Akku gains 2 credits, we lose 2 credits. So we're on 10, 10, but 3 bad publicity. That's probably fine too. Yeah, I actually like that. Only slightly risky. But this gets a click back, which always feels good. Hey, Shockwave. Watching you is the only enjoyment I'm getting from the game right now. Always seem to be losing at 10 to 12 axes as a corp, but still not winning at 24. Shockwave, could I ask you a favor? Do you play on JNet? Because often it's really hard. Like in Netrunner, there's always a bunch of different plateaus where players get stuck, and learning like one bit of information, one different mindset is how you can kind of like unlock a bit more potential, right? Like that's generally how it goes with learning card games. Like, oh, you learn something that's fundamental to the game, then you go to the next part, so on and so forth. We just let this fire. Check your maths on this run. Seems good. Oh, wait. Oh, wait a second. Off by 1. You're right. So this is not good. 9, 10, 11. Yeah, we off by 1. You're right, because obviously this thing costs money. So this means Akku goes to 10 and we go to 9. You mind if I take this back? Don't fact they cost the Boomerang and HP? No, I didn't. I just sent them. Thank you. Andre, a minute ago. Okay, so we don't want to do either of these things. Calculate risky runs. Math is hard, okay? Point being, Shockwave, if you have a replay on JNet that you want to send to metropole@gmail.com, I'd be very happy to look over it and maybe give you some sort of advice that could help you, like, you know, ascend slightly. It's about vibes. Yeah, we were vibing a bit there. Like, we're in a pretty good spot. That vibes is like a pretty reasonable way to interact with this game. I think we're just going to install our breakers. Now, the only fractors I'm expecting barriers are Data Ward, which there's 1 on server 1. So I think we just do Cat's Cradle. Oh man, it's so close to being good. Now, Cat's Cradle is just really bad to Valen Chow. Doof costs 1 less. Yeah, but we don't have clicks to install the Boomerang here on HQ. Because if this is a Trebuchet, we lose the game. Well, not lose the game. It's just like not good for us. Actually, it's fine if this is a Trebuchet. Whatever. We don't need to take that risk. We're fine. I think we're just going to throw out a Doof. One doof's probably enough. Hey, Dave, we have 4 Arkham previews so far. Mob Connections and Lawrence Carlisle both look like a blast. I'll talk about those a bit after this game so we don't derail even harder. How's it going, by the way, Dave? My 2 cents, I think Mob Connections is great for a late campaign purchase. I've seen a lot of people complain about it being too expensive, but I think it's great. Lawrence Carlisle is amazing. My best friend loves Patrice and is interested in him, and I want to try Lawrence and Wendy and Ashcan. Fantastic new ally. Yeah, I agree. I think Carlisle is going to be very, very playable. Question from a newish player. How do you keep all the deck lists in your head? Remembering a list from Worlds last year boggles my mind. So, Gotham, it's a hard question. First click was Steel Hostile? I think so. Yeah, that was this. So how? The more you play Netrunner, there's a lot of things that seem like I have a very good memory. I don't. Classically, I don't have a great memory. It's more about like compartmentalization and pattern recognition. So the more that you see Netrunner, the more that you can take like complex board states, ideas of cards, and you compartmentalize them. So like, it's not so much about individual cards, it's about packages, right? So like outfit, when I think of outfit, I think of, okay, it's going to have 3 Balance Out, 3 Trebuchet. It's going to have Under the Bus probably. And these become packages, and it's easier to remember packages than it is individual cards. There's, I don't know, something when it comes to like people who've spent a lot of time with things. I know there's videos on the internet, but like you can ask chess masters. I'm not saying I'm a chess master, but someone who spent a lot of time with something to recount chess games that they played years ago, and they can. And it's not because they remember pawn was on E2, pawn was on F5. It's just they can remember the parts of things that are important, and they can compartmentalize that information. Like in this game, there was a problem where I couldn't get into HQ, but R&D had this, but I had this pressure, but my breaker suite was lacking this. Like you start to compartmentalize information. And a lot of the stuff becomes like packaging, and it's easier to remember packaged information. Not only when it comes to Worlds, like I commentated finals for Worlds last year, so my like job is to do commentary. So a lot of times I have to memorize deck lists and look at like meta changes, so that does help. But a lot of these things are just like having more time with the thing. It just makes memory easier. Especially when you're a new player, there's so many things to worry about, and like obviously I know what all the cards say, so it's more about the ideas of what the cards do. What's in their mode server? I have no idea. Probably could be an agenda. Aku's on 4 bad publicity. Let's start here. Gotta think. Yeah, it's tricky, but I think that's a really big thing. It's like a lot of times people who've played this game a lot seem like they have brilliant memories. They don't. It's just it gets easier to remember the more you play the game, because things become easier to, again, compartmentalize. Send R&D. Yeah, now with the manual, we could send R&D. Sending HQ sees all of HQ. That's kind of attractive. That's never feels bad. If that's the case, we would. What's Cat's Cradle Break Valent Chow? It's gonna be very expensive. Very expensive. So we need to get money first. So I think we just do Manuel, run R&D. Aku might get up to game point, because red cap actually wins in 2 turns. Yeah, we need to make money somehow. Getting Amaku Leech up is also good enough, but this sees 2 cards. This could do it. Your recent modernist of stream brought me back. Just, oh yeah, heck yeah. I'm behind on chat. Sorry, that's a hard thing to fix. I'll fix it in a bit. So data loop off the top. Manuel sees another card's Rashida. We can trash this so we can go back to see another card. Not the best draw for Aku, so I actually don't mind leaving this on the top of the deck, because we lose by Aku drawing into regulatory captures and audacities, not Rashida. Like Rashida is obviously very powerful, but this is a problem in 2 turns. So we're just going to gain 2 credits. We're still on 10 credits. I feel like we've been on 10 credits forever now. Now we're on 3 Amaku Leech. So we could go back. Actually, it's probably right to trash that, because we can go back and see more cards. Yeah, actually, sorry. I thought we were being clever, but I realized here the right play is probably just make Amaku Leech even bigger. And it's free to do this, so why not? But if we weren't running back, I would not trash the Rashida. This list could run Snare. If you trash, you get no turtle. Oh, piss. Yeah, that's fine. We still want to run back because we get Leech Amakua, and we'll still like trickle forward. But in theory, now we have a chance of winning the game, let alone. All right, we're not charging this Rashida. Doof into Doof. We don't need that. Really feeling for Aku right now? The deck is just so meh. I think this deck is okay. I think it's going to be a rougher matchup, but Aku actually can win in 2 turns. This needs to be a red cap, though. I'm really behind on chat. Probably would install the Cradle. I'm so behind on chat. The Boomer doesn't shuffle if you fully break. Oh, is that what it comes down to? Wild. Oh, just a Spin Doctor. So we know Aku has a Data Ward in hand and one of the Rashidas we didn't trash. Super excited about some of your cards. of the cards. I'm convinced your Kamani vid is responsible for the Underworld Market chain. I don't know. I've been talking to so many people who are not into Underworld Market, but like that card is so busted. I'm glad they changed it. This is the data loop. So we probably can just flush HQ run server 1. A lot of those comments made a lot of sense a few minutes ago. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sorry, I'm behind on chat. You made a video about Kamani? Yeah, I have a whole like deck we did for April Fool's last year. We played an entire like Kamani of 2 scenarios with Jeff and made a deck dive on the channel. It's really great. Unfortunately, I forgot some of Kamani's text because I recorded the game really quickly, but Kamani's like my favorite investigator. It's so hyper embarrassing that we managed to forget Kamani's text. All right, Cat's Cradle into Valenchow should do it. So I think we just do Boomerang Hot Pursuit on vibes. And then we should probably see the whole hand. This is the Rashida likely. But if there's agendas, they have nowhere to go. This is vibes, but I think this is good. I heard the new break all that was added to the icebreaker things. Oh, so break all and Boomerang is breaking it. Oh, check your mats. I'm really behind on stream. Whole Metropole sales funnel going on right now. I don't know what that means, but yes. You need more cash to run HQ though. With 4 bad publicity and Leech, we'll just break the Valenchow with Cradle. I don't care. Oh, border control. Sick. Okay. So that's fine. If that eats a hot pursuit, so be it. We might as well break this with the border control. We don't expect this to go through. All right. It's not going to go get shuffled back anyways. So break all includes breaking the Boomerang. So this Valenchow, we don't want to let it fire. So we want to break it. If we break it with Cat's Cradle, it's 8. That's why we're going to save some credits here. In theory, these leech counters actually do matter. We break it for 5. Yeah, that's fine. Is it, which of these subroutines matter? Gain 2. So wait, we're on 10 to 10. So as soon as we break 1, the last subroutine matters. So I think we just break all of it. We definitely break the bottom 2, so we might as well break the top. We're assuming the border control gets popped here because this run is like hella valuable. You can possibly Boomer Doof after this run. Yeah, we might want to. We're assuming this is Rashid. Okay, no surprise. Last minute. Boomer Doof dice to not much, but Boomer Doof here. Some part of me wants to just see Boomer 4 cards though, right? Bah? Like we think it's a Rashid in their mode. I think we just do like Boomer C cards. If we steal 2-pointer, we die to Snare, but if this is the old version of the deck, it's not running Snare. So I'm not going to respect Snare. We're taking risks here. I don't think this is on end of line. Seeing 4 cards probably wins. I think it does, yeah. And it gets 4 credits, which is like pretty good. So we'll break up to 2 subroutines. So losing 2 doesn't matter when you have bad publicity largely. You win on a 2-pointer, exactly, yeah. Boomer Doof, new name is Siphon. Yep. CityWorks, there we go. There's the Mavirus, a GG. Rashida in the remote on top of an Angelique. I did not think that would be there. It makes sense. Like Aku hasn't jammed an agenda in a long time. Yeah, it is exactly Mavirus. I'm surprised that's a Mavirus, considering that Aku actually did the purge, which was a whole turn. I think you'd rather just like do the map. So surprisingly, the Trebuchet is here. We might have like misplayed into that, assuming it's the data ward. We still had some inside jobs, so you generally want an inside job data ward. It was map. I should put on R&D instead of bluffing. I'm surprised you went for the purge turn with the Mav. Treb on R&D early on. Yeah, the Trebuchet is really good. This is the card that like really shapes how we play, where we don't want to install cards and we just want to be aggressive. But once we've installed important cards, you have to be able to break a 6-string sentry. The trace is like whatever. It's just the first subroutine that really, really does matter. I was low on credits. Yeah, but even if you purge with the Mavirus, well, like I didn't like the purge in general because centrals were open and we can just run back. So generally you don't want to purge unless there's like ice on every server, central server, because otherwise we can just run archives 4 times and build Leech on Maku and we're in the same spot. Is there a deck you'd like to play against? I'm just vibing at this point. I don't think anything particularly. Yeah. I was expecting, I know the list is on 3x Mav, so I was going to play it a bit safe. But the purge tipped my hand a bit to it being, what's it called? Angelique. Then I saw 2 Angeliques on RD. One was reshuffled. So it's hard. Yeah, and the data loop on the remote server, we made a good call on that because we saw it and then immediately went there. This deck really has no way of scoring out in the meta. No, you just put cards on the remote server. I think it's just like it's weak to like Stone Ship Onacom, but at least Onacom doesn't seem as much play. Andre would love to play against the Rudest Prison Mirror more if you have going. Please. But Ba had a stream yesterday where Lifeline, right, was on to show off the Quetzal list, and it's pretty fun. I caught like a game and a half of it, but do check it out. It's really fun. Double hostile was cold. When they ever score out a regulatory capture as a 3-2 on a remote server, like things are going good for you. I do think Outfit sometimes has this ugly thing where if you just don't draw the right cards in the right order, it can fall apart. This one's a bit more robust, but it's up to Aku to build a board state where it's like running the remote server. If City works on Mavirus, it's like 5 damage for us. And like our money, we lose to Punitive. Hey, you too. Okay. Hey, Aku, good game. Because if it's Rashid on the remote, isn't that because they don't have agendas in hand to jam? Or they don't feel safe about their agenda in their remote server. Like that's a hard thing to tell. It's like the more you play against your opponent, the more you know about their risk assessment. The thing is like that deck doesn't have a lot of like agendas you want to jam like that. Like that deck is on Hostile, Above the Law, Red Cap, and then Cityworks Project. So there's actually not that many agendas that would look like that. It would just have to be the one above the law, I think. I was waiting for Angelique to show up. Yeah, I think you do just jam the Aku. Like you just have to jam and have to hope that you don't have Punitive. I don't think you actually had Punitive though. We didn't see one. But that is tricky. That is tricky for sure. I said I would do something after the stream. What did I say I would do? Somebody either asked a question or was it the Arkham tangent? It's a lot of damage. It really is a lot of damage. Was it the Arkham tangent? Talk about Arkham previews? Oh yeah, okay. So talk about Arkham previews. Thank you. So I'm going to go to Derp BK. Unfortunately, these spoilers that we're going to look at were spoiled by a YouTube channel. I believe the YouTube channel is in Greek, so you should watch them if you understand Greek. But Derb, Ancient Evils repost things and have visual spoilers. So all I want to talk about really quickly is this. Russian, not Greek. Oh, I thought it was Greek. It's Russian. Okay, excuse me. I looked really quickly. I didn't think it was Cyrillic. I thought it was Greek, but that makes sense. Where I want to, where can I find it? Where is spoiler? Spoilers? Okay, there's 2 cards spoiled. This is the first one. I'll open a new tab, and the second one was this. Sorry, small Arkham tangent. It's fine. It's a Tuesday afternoon. I'll start with the Lawrence first. Okay. Now, spoiler roundup 3, I think. Perfect. I think I just missed it, but this is it. This is Lawrence Carlisle. Lawrence is an ally, unique, sculpting his dreams, 3 cost, gets 1 book. That's pretty good. A bad soak, dies to most encounter cards, whatever. After you discard 1 or more cards from your hand during your turn, exhaust Carlisle, gain a resource. Each block of clay hides all manner of fantastical things. This card's just good. I do think unless you're playing Pete Sylvester or your deck like really builds around something, low XP survivor allies are not great. Intellect, not book? Nah, I don't know what they're called. I've played Arkham for years. I don't know what they're called. I need a Q&T with some kind of person. Oh, Pod. I think I missed your message earlier. I saw your icon. How you doing? Okay, this card's fine. I think you'll see play. I think in Patrice, I'm not actually sure that this is that much better than Madame Lafranche, but it's definitely fine. I think you will cut it out of your deck at some point. It's whatever. Foot or boot? I say foot. I say foot, book, fight, and willpower. Willpower is the one I know. I don't say head. That's weird. Okay, next up is this card, Mob Connections, and it's exceptional. Exceptional means you only have 1 in your deck. That stinks. It also means it's twice as much experience, so it's not actually a 2 XP card, it's a 4 XP card. For what it's worth, decks that say you can only have 2 XP up to level 2 rogue cards can play it. So there's a bunch of weird interactions, but it is functionally a 1 of 4 XP card. Brain, not willpower. No, I say willpower. Willpower's good. Will is good. Will is good. As an action, spend 2 resources to draw the card attached to Mob Connections, which can only have 1 attached card. And it says when an illicit asset you control is discarded from play, exhaust Mob Connections to attach that asset to this card face down. Unlimited 1 attached asset. So this is a reaction. Discarded can be from your, oh no, it's from play. So not from your hand or from the top of your deck. It has to be from play. Illicit assets, there's a whole bunch of them. A very common subtype is firearms. Notably, firearms in Arkham kind of suck, which is honestly one of my grievances with Arkham. I think guns are very exciting when it comes to a horror property because there's a narrative baked into every gun. Guns have bullets and bullets run out. And it's a very good tool to create you know, narratives and stories and tension. The difference between somebody reloading their gun with 6 bullets and being on the last bullet is just so cool in a game like Arkham, but unfortunately it just doesn't happen a lot because mostly physical things, like physical weapons that have unlimited functional ammo, are just more powerful and more consistent than firearms, so firearms don't see a lot of play. Notably, we know that the big guy that comes up in this set is going to be a mobster who seems to have a lot of synergy with firearms. I'm pretty sure we might know his text. I don't know what his text is for what it's worth, but I'm hoping there's going to be a lot of support for firearms. A lot of firearms are illicit, so this helps. I don't think this card is very good. I was very surprised that this is not a permanent card because this card only does something when you find it. And when you find it, you have to install it. And then once you install it, then the listed card has to be discarded. Then you have to spend an action and then you have to replay the listed card. It's just a lot of work. And I'm really frustrated whenever we see engine pieces like this that are quintessentially like, oh, this will be a good value card for a late campaign, right? Like where you get this and you have a 5 XP listed card, playing that twice if this shows up. Like it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I get really frustrated because we see this a lot of times in Rogue, where there are a bunch of cards that should be engine cards that like allow you to do really cool bespoke deck ideas that just never work because you have to draw the damn card first. This is Sharpshooter. It's a 3 XP card, so it's a lot of XP, and it says when you use a fight ability on a firearm, exhaust Sharpshooter. So it only works once a turn, and then choose one or both. So you can use your agility instead of your might, and or you can attack the enemy on their agility versus the might. This card is just like one of the coolest ideas of a card that means that you can play a high agility marksman as opposed to a high might marksman. Generally, anytime you do an attack, whether it's like a physical weapon or a gun, you care about your might. And this card, you just can't build a deck around it because you don't consistently find this damn card. You need it to be permanent, which is the subtype of cards that starts in play when the game starts. Those would generally cost a bit more XP because they're very consistent, but it's just such a frustrating card. Because it's hard to put in your deck. It's hard to build a firearms-based agility character because all your cards are going to be crap until you draw this, and there's no way to tutor this. It doesn't start in play. And like this falls into the same camp to me, where it's like very, very inconsistent on top of it. And I understand there's some payoffs, and you can make a list of cards faster by playing things like Joey the Rat Vigil or Fence, which are classically not great cards. It's also, you can put this on your Underworld Market, which is a harder card to play modernly, so you can make sure you get it at the point in the game where it matters. That's, again, a lot of experience. That's already 8 experience just to get those 2 cards to work together. Fence is good. I'm not convinced Fence is good. Fence is okay. But yeah, Fence is fun. Interrupt, not reaction. Yeah, that's true. It's an interrupt, not reaction. The arrow, there's a click is a circular arrow. No, this is a reaction arrow. The click arrow in Arkham is this action. So this is what the click looks like. This just means in response to. It's functionally the same as the reaction arrow, kind of, in case you're like a real rules lawyer, but largely it works the same way. Keep in mind the mob connections is illicit, so you can put on the Underworld Market. Yeah, I know. But spending 8 XP for this, I don't know. Do you know what else you can put on the Underworld Market? More guns, right? Like, do you know what also costs to credit and no clicks? Drawing your second gun off the Underworld Market. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why not just get your second gun, which is cheaper and takes less actions? I don't, it's weird. It's a combo card that doesn't really have a home yet, which is weird given the size of the card pool. Yes. And maybe we'll see more illicit cards. It's worth knowing it doesn't have to be a gun. So like you can drink your illicit alcohol as much as you want. It seems hard. I picked up an Arkham horror box many years ago. I have yet to play. It's really good, Concord. It's really, really good. This Lynn's art is so good. I think it's the opposite. I think I had the biggest conversation about this art specifically in a Discord channel, because this has been happening over the last little cycle, and I don't know what this is. And I want to be very honest. I'm very uncomfortable talking about the quality of art. I'm not an artist. I feel like it's really easy to talk the quality of the design of a card because some people design bad cards on purpose. Like, not all cards have to be good, but everyone goes out their way to design the best art. Like, nobody makes, I'm going to make a bad art. I'm not saying this is bad art, but you understand, like, this is the double standard of I can criticize card design without any problem. I can sleep well at night. But as soon as I have to talk about card art, I get a bit more uncomfortable. Just the truth. That's how it happens. I find this last Arkham set, Hemlock Vale, was really inconsistent and strange when it came to art. And I worry that some part of this has become like infested in my head, is my own internal problem when it comes to like worrying about things like generative art and AI stuff, right? Where there's more and more cards that like certain parts of it that look slightly strange jump out to me because I feel like I'm being a bit more critical to find out, like, did the machine do this or did the human do this? I like a lot of Lynn's art. This one is really weird to me. Like, there's just so many things that are strange, like the framing of the guitars around the head to give this character antenna. Like, it seems like in the art script, they like put some things. It's just very strange. The hand being really jaundiced. The gun doesn't help. You can't hold a gun like this. Like, it doesn't make any sense. The perspective doesn't make sense. It's really weird. There's so many parts of this that the more I look at, the more uncomfortable it makes me. This looks like sunken shelving, right? And sunken shelving would go into the wall. However, this is the door jamb, and you see how thin the door jamb is? Like, that is the outside world. I like the fact that this place is closed, technically. That makes it really fun because we're doing illicit trading. But like, that doesn't make sense. Like, this wall, this cabinet will go outside of the building. And anytime I see things like this, it like makes me think, what happened? I don't know. Very, very strange. This one as well. This is the same sort of thing. We've seen other card arts like this. This looks like a photograph that was like rotoscope or painted on top. Like, it's very photorealistic. And then you get to that super dark texturing that you get. There's like it's the same sort of dark texturing you see on like Deep Dream type stuff. And maybe this is the artist's style. Like, I think overall this is a very poignant card. Like, I think the sculpting is good. The lighting is very haunting. It's meant to do that. But so much of the art for this set so far we've seen in the last set has been very off-putting. And maybe that's intentional. Like, just very kind of weird and like grimy in strange ways. Like, I don't know. Again, if it's intentional, it makes sense. But I don't know. It's been like, okay, that's fine. I didn't notice anything about the art until he pointed out. Now I can't unsee. It's strange. It's just notably strange. Lawrence's art was around in Arkham Horror 2nd Edition. Oh, okay, they reused this. Okay, that's great. That's really good to know that this is a reuse of a card. But that's sort of like really dark filtering. Like, you see it over the Ashes cycle. I don't like what that looks like. The hyper dark darks. I believe they use the same guy in their art often. Hey, so how's it going? Would you say Eldritch? Yeah, kind of. But I don't know. It's weird. I feel like some of the so in Hemlock Vale, there's all these the people that live in the village, and the art across all the villagers is so wildly inconsistent in terms of style. I don't know why that happened. I think they just have to use what artists they have, but like, it feels like a lot of the art from the last set was it was a lot more inconsistent than it usually is in Arkham. The shady dude in the foreground and background look like one piece of art, and then the main character in the center looks a blue screen element. When it comes to this one, it's weird. It's really weird. I think I get really critical anytime the hands are strange because it's like, wait, how did you? Carla kind of looks like Christopher Lee. Yeah, he kind of does. Guy also gave me Jeff Lee Johnson vibes. Art director of Arkham Horror. Oh, very cool. Where the color correction shadows are very off. Yeah, like, this is green. Why is this hood green? The skin seems slightly jaundiced. Her eyes, I think, are looking slightly off. Like, all these sort of things are like the sort of, again, I think Lynn does some really good art too. I don't know. This one, I feel really bad criticizing art. It's not my spot. I'm not an artist, but it just makes me feel weird. And I think that's powerful. I think it's kind of interesting for an Arkham game, but yeah, the art's been like different than original Arkham art. It reminds me of really old Pokemon cards that have a variety of CG and painterly styles. Yeah, that can be done intentionally for sure. I'm really excited for the next set for what it's worth. Like, I think Hemlock Vale was pretty great, and Arkham has been pretty good recently. It's good to see more stuff coming out too. Anyways, sorry for that weird critical tangent. Just ducking on someone's art. Sharpshooter has this hard line over the character. I think that is actually the watermark. That is just the FFG watermark. Right? Like, this is, if that's what you're talking about. All right, let's play another game with this. It's not how you hold a gun. Well, if you're a sharpshooter, no, that's fine. That's a fun way to hold that. Oh, ooh, I just closed restream apparently. Hold on. Your chat has now disappeared. They even made this -1 additional experience because nobody's playing it. Look at the head black line. I don't think I see it. I think there's shadows in Winnie's eyes, and there's a shadow behind her nose because she's lit on one side. I don't mind this at all. Okay, let's do another one. This one's been fun. It's been just a fun deck. We've just been ripping centrals, and we're gone. Oh, we're back. We're back. Thanks for joining me again. Sorry, it's not an art stream, but we're now unsupervised. Veronica, just missed it. Sorry. Op, okay. Gyro plays like Ronin kill op. Thanks, you too. So having some amount of damage prevention in hand is pretty cool. I'm still not in. You tried. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were waiting. I think Gyro might have been too. So this hand has Boomerang Doof. That's okay. Jailbreak Centrals. I'm not sure Gyro's deck scores out aggressively, which means it probably has SDSs in it, which we don't interact with really, really well. I do think most of our cards in our deck are really good for early pressure. The best thing we can open up is, I think, a Swift. We didn't see Joyride in the last couple games. So we're going to mulligan this. Gyro mulligan too, so we can take like, it means that his start is probably not going to be amazing. So we can take a bit more of a risk. This is like, actually a fair bit worse. I'd be surprised if Gyro doesn't ice HQ. Yeah, there you go. Fuck. Oh yeah, this is like the do nothing combo deck where we're gonna see like 4 ice on R&D, 4 ice on HQ. Feels bad. We have pinholes in the deck, right? Is it just one? Oh, we don't have pinhole in the deck. We're gonna suffer. This is another deck where it's like a lot of cheap ice, and you sit back and just combo. So we just have to go as aggressively as possible. So our other hand was actually better. I guess we do Steel Skin Scarring just to find like a pressure card. These are not what we want. It's really hard to also rely on Amakua because of the virus. This hand is hard to play. If this is a Charisma 2, we're in a bad spot. It shuts off most of our deck. All the diversions, even the jailbreaks and the dirty laundries, but of course the hot pursuits. I don't want to install this because we don't go down to 1 credit. We don't have a run event to play on HQ. It's funny that sometimes like Inside Job, no ice is correct when you want to click back on a certain turn. Not this turn. A Compilation at least deals with SDS, but this gains a credit. You can cup it though? I guess so. Right? This is the sort of deck. It's running as many cheap stuff. So getting the Amakua up will be okay. This is really good if it hits an Amakua. I don't think we mind if this is drawn by Gyro. So we can do Classic. We go down to 0 credits. I don't think I enjoy that reality. But what else do we do here? Amakua gets to 0 credits. Like maybe we do Class Act, but then next turn we're on 9 cards in hand and we just like click for 4. That's pretty bad. I think we just want to keep our money up, but I don't think Gyro's going to build a remote server. This is going to be like drudge work. What do we do here? The Swift is probably the worst card in our hand with this hand. I don't think the diversion is going to work with an upgrade on HQ. If it's a Charisma, we're just kind of cooked. Okay, so Amakua matters. Owl's 1 strength, Ice Wall's 1 strength, Tithe is in this list, I think, 1 strength. So like getting an Amakua up to somewhere. Oh, it's just a Mav. So Regolith is on the table? Yeah. Okay. You gotta ice the Regolith or ice R&D. Yeah. We can't deal with that well. We can face check. If it's the Owl, we don't care. But obviously we don't want our opponent to have 9 credits. Because that's a lot of money. So we can just run this. If we Inside Job it, we can do that as a response. But if this is the Owl, it just like bounces the Cupulation. What is the worst case? Maskarovka is the worst case. I think Gyro does run Maskarovka. We just don't want this to happen. Owl, great. Doesn't do anything. Well, Cupulation, but whatever. We might want to run HQ. I think running HQ is fine. Like what hits us? Afshar is pretty bad actually. The other option is like, we could do credit Amakua run HQ. This is like, if this is an Afshar, which is probably in the list, we go into 0 credit, that's pretty bad. I think we just want to stabilize here. So I think we're going to run R&D, see how things go, and then just credit. We can't, don't want that to be drawn. That's a good draw. All right, trash it for free, gaining a credit, and we'll just do credit. The Owl doesn't do anything, so jamming behind it is useless unless we install our Amakua. And even if we get Amakua to 1, it does something. Spin, draw 2. We know nothing about the hand. Definitely an agenda in the hand, right? Like we mulliganed and we drawn through 13 card, 12 card. So probably 2 agendas in hand. 2.5. Okay, Ice on R&D. Ice on Archives. That's very good. So now we can just face check HQ. And this turn we'll probably just Class Act. But there's definitely like 2 agendas and 4 cards here. So we want to force the res. Afshar is the worst case by a mile. Sandstone, fine. We can be aggressive here and run R&D. Unlikely to hurt us. We just want to see what the cards are. And it's unlikely Gyro can res all this stuff. Now, one of these are definitely going to be extracted sooner than later. We just have to hope Gyro doesn't have the extract. Because that's a really good way to get different ice. Because Owl's not doing anything. Looks like Gyro can consider resing. It's a Magnet. Okay. So our ability is going to be turned off. And so I think we just do Class Act credit. Oh, that's pretty bad. We definitely need to get card draw down because Sandstone's very beatable. We also know Gyro's on Slash and Burn, so contesting the Spin Doctor sooner than later is worth something. I don't think it's this turn though. Like we either do credit or credit Class Act going down to 1. If we're on 1, how do we get money? We can't dirty laundry. I think we just do nothing and then next turn we Class Act for credits. This is a bit too slow. We could draw for 1 though. I don't like this hand. We're maybe at the point where we could, oh, we know the top of the deck is a Cupulation. But like Cupulation run HQ is going to be good. We just need to get a card to Cupulate because Gyro definitely has 2 agendas in hand. And that's a lot of multi-axis. Okay. Don't know what that is. Run Sandstone 2 times and install Turtle. Run Sandstone 3 more times. Yeah, I think running this down is actually a strategy we can do. I think we're gonna run server 3 first. If it's a wall-to-wall, it's Spin Doctor is gonna get a bit annoying. If it's a powers, so we trash this powers, that stops gyro from slash and burning. We can also just bounce off of this. So powers is really bad if there's a hostile, an audacity, or a slash, and all that stuff is kind of dependent on Spin Doctor being around. At least the hostile isn't though. So again, we can just trash this and do nothing again. I just don't go to 1 credit. I don't want to go down to 1 credit. But gyro here is also in an ugly spot. Like it's draw, extract, waiting room. Okay, Spin Doctor got used, so there's probably a second Spin Doctor coming. Yeah, okay. So now we really want to run HQ before you can discard cards. Okay, 5 credits. So unfortunately, we know the top of the deck. So we probably run the Spin Doctor to force the shuffle because this is a setup for slash and burn. And then just install Class Act. This is the slowest start we've had so far. But this is pretty cheap, like end the run ice. Cool. 2 spins out early is great. We'll see if the face down goes back. So probably 1 agenda was saved, and we'll just do this, which means we can draw 5. So we can choose to get the compilation. I think the Bravado's, the Carmen is the least necessary card in our hand. And then from here we can do, I think diversion's the worst case. Okay, upgrade. Wait, we can just run this. Why can't we just run this? Now we only have 4 credits, but the owl doesn't do anything. So if we bravado this, we'll access with 1 credit. Now gyro is on Managarm. So if we run right now, we can double click. If we bravado, we can double click, but the only thing we can steal is Managarm. Are we okay bravado double clicking through a Managarm? No, we need to be able to trash both a Rashida and a Regolith because the deck's on 3 Regoliths, right? So I think we just first click run the owl. Oof. Clearly a behold bamboozle. We can also do compilation bravado. That's fine too. I actually kind of like that. Oh no, but then we lack the credit to use compilation. Money. We definitely need to do the bravado. We can also just bravado bounce. We can bravado the sandstone, compilation, run server 1, but then we can't double click the Regolith. So if we bravado the owl and then a Managarm gets res, we can just run back. Yeah, that's fine. We'll see what this is. This doesn't do anything. And we can't trash anything. Won't owl hit your compilation? Yes, but I don't think we're going to compilation. But you're right. If we install the compilation, the owl eats it. Puts on top of the deck. So now Gyro has to make a decision. Because we can still threaten Rashida, we can still threaten agendas. And if it's a, what's it called, a Managarm, we can double click through it. But we also can just run back. Mavirus into 2-coster. Probably an agenda in hand. Wrap. Oh, Zato. Right. Okay, so we know it's Zato wrap. So now we have to go HQ because there's definitely agendas in there. So Zato is really frustrating. So here we probably just do compilation. So we can do Swift compilation inside job. We'll get a credit back. We'll get a click back. Yeah, we need to run it here before an agenda goes into server 1. There has to be an agenda in hand. Yeah, I think that's fine. Won't get a click? Oh, you're right. Sorry. Yeah, we have no reason to install this. You're right, because we already played a run event. Yeah, very, very good catch. ZF? Okay, so we can't couplate that, right? No. Gain a credit. Very, very good catch. So if we draw, we'll have to discard a card. I like our cards a fair bit. We have a compilation not doing anything. Azief is whatever. I think there's another agenda in hand. I don't want to spend a second inside job this turn. We could bounce the sandstone. That is whatever. If we run archives, it doesn't do anything, but we can actually steal them a virus. It could force a res. What would be the worst case scenario? I think we actually could consider running archives just to steal them a virus. Nah, that seems a bit too cute. So we either draw and discard a card. That's fine. We'll throw out our worst card. Doof is really good. Sorry, Joyride. And then we'll throw out our worst card here, which is... it's hard to tell, honestly. Amaku is like very, very good. It's really bad against this like 3 Mavirus wrap around. But is it the worst card in our hand? Is it Steel Skin or is it Swift? It might be Swift. Like, this is my problem with Swift. Like, it's so cheap, and yet I'm still not using it. But next, our turn is like Swift, Boomerang, Doof. 2, 3, 4, 5. Get a click back. It might be the Steel Skin scarring. It's actually probably the Amakua. It's so hard to use in this matchup. We'll see if we regret it. I think that there's a chance that that's incorrect. We have 3 Swift. We only have 2 Amakua. It's just, I hate using Amakua against a 3 Virus deck, let alone wrap around. Like, we need our Kurapira anyways. So Gyro, Zato, and the remote server. So it's more about just putting enough pressure, because if we ever run the Zato is just like unbeatable. Unfortunately, we were a bit aggressive, so the Magnet got rezzed, which means, actually, yeah, we kind of need the Amakua, because Cat's Cradle is really bad into Magnet. Swift, too slow, ironic. Yeah, I think we actually probably throw the Swift out. Extract for the Owl, okay. 1 cost here is Tithe or Ice Wall, okay. Yeah, maybe the Turtle was good. That's a lot of money, though. So that's the 1 card that snuck through on top of the Zato. We're still going to go for the Doof, because it's Doof. So Swift, Boomerang, Doof. And we're just not making accesses. Break up to 2, don't fully break. You're accessing their bank account. I think we'll just Steel Skin here. Joyride. Okay. We might lose this to Zyef. We know at least that's a Zato. Our money's pretty bad. We need here more diversions. Sorry, we need more Boomerangs, and we need a Hot Pursuit. But right now we're just in the Kurapira waiting room for the Sandstone at some point. If Gyro just scores out of 3-2, like above the law doesn't do much. Zyef is like, maybe you can trade up, but the Sandstone seems pretty good. We know that he's on Slash and Burn, so just keeping pressure on Centrals is pretty important. I'll be honest, I really like Ice Carver to help deal with 1 strength when using Amakua. I do too, essentially. I think that's a big thing that I got from playing like, oh, it is the above the law. Okay, that's the best case. From playing Hoshiko, is that the Ice Carver is so good because there's so many 1 strength barriers in the format. I totally agree. Like, what do we do here? No longer have filter draw. Like, we might just class act, click for 3. Okay. We have 2 Rare Breakers, which is good. We have Hot Pursuit, which is really good. And it's either do we want Dirty Laundry or Jailbreak. We already have 1 Jailbreak, so that might decide it. But it's still pretty expensive to get through the Sandstone, right? Like, we definitely just need a Hot Pursuit to land in the next couple turns. Or we're kind of out of the game financially. It's very feast or famine out here. Hopefully there's a feast. Second, only on 5 credits. Zato's 3. That's the upgrade. Just need to touch cards. Cat's Cradle also breaks Magnet for 3, which is pretty bad. But we can't just do Cat's Cradle Jailbreak. Ooh. Slash? What is this? Okay. Thinking. The remote server only costs us 2 credits to run, right? Now the question is whether you throw the wraparound at us or the Ice Wall at us, but if the Zato gets rezzed, we're relatively happy. So we just need to firstly get money and then contest the remote server. So how do we do that? If we do Kurapira, we're down to 1 credit. If we do Cat's Cradle, we're down to 2 credits. Which means we can do like Cat's Cradle, click for a credit, Jailbreak, spend 3, gain 2. That's not it. So the other option is like Kurapira, credit, inside job. And then we can run backs everyone, I think. Oh, we're just slightly short. We're slightly short on money. Because Kurapira goes down to 1. Then we do credit, we're on 3. Inside job goes down to 1. Inside job breaks the Ice Wall. Wraparound, we have to pay 1 for. Zato gets rezzed, throws at the wraparound. We have a click left. Then we can run back. So we'd either need he'd either need another Ice Wall there or like a Tithe. Like, we can do that. The problem is like we're floundering economically. But there's a chance that we can get away with it by doing Kurapira credit inside job. So we go to 1, 2, 3 down to 1, have a click back. He has to throw one of these at us. We're on 0. Wait, no, because then we break the wraparound 1 and 0. So then we can't even run back. So that's not gonna work, right? Because we go down to Kurapira 1, credit, inside job 2, 3. Inside job we're down to 1. We break out. We can't run back. But it forces the Zato fire. This is an Atlas with a counter is the worst case. Still thinking. So the question is, can we get purchased on central servers? If we top deck, so we draw and we hit a boomerang, we could do boomerang, draw, install boomerang, hot pursuit, Kurapira, run remote server. So our best case, I think, is just to draw into a boomerang here. If that doesn't land, oh, piss. Okay, wait, actually, no, that's okay. That's a clickless 3 credits. This might still do it. So this is a free 3 credits. We could run archives to force a res. I think that's better. We get more money on this. And like Gyro's unlikely res this. I think the worst case is this is a tithe and exactly hits our Kurapira. If that happens, we're cooked. But now this is a clickless 4 credit button if Gyro does a res here. If Gyro reses here, we might be able to contest server 1. I didn't see that the Bravado is actually a pretty good res here, or draw here. Because we can't play short gambles, so Bravado's really quite good. If we're really panicked, we could dirty laundry archives. Because I don't know if Gyro can res. Ice wall, okay, sick. So that means if the Zahya gets res, he's probably not scoring out. Okay, so we can do now we can do Kurapira, hot fursuit. So that's 3, 4, 5. Puts us at 2 credits. Handstone's 4 strength. No, can't do it. We just install Kurapira, we go down to 4. Then we could run this remote server 3, 2. Throws it at us. We run back. Yeah, I think this one might work. In theory, if we like did it into the sandstone, we get 1 more virus counter, and that's like valuable for us. But now if Gyro reses the Zato, he's bankrupt. And we have a hand that we can click for credits and get back in the game. This also charges Kurapira, which is like actually worth a lot. Like even just saving a credit to break a sandstone next turn. So now the wraparound, if you want to end the run, you have to res the Zato, which bankrupts this. Now you're trashing a 2 coster, which means I don't know what 1 coster you get that pushes you forward, tithe. So we can now run back through this successfully. So if we dirty laundry, I think we dirty laundry here. I don't care about the tithe. I think we just dirty laundry. We have to discard a card anyways. The other option is just run and don't dirty laundry. Is that a once per turn? Yeah. No, it's not. It's not, but you don't get op. So I guess we don't dirty laundry. I think you're right. I think we just run it. Good call. I thought it was once per turn, but it's op, that's once per turn. So if we run back, Gyro can throw the ice wall, get the tithe credit. It's hitting the hand is not too bad for us. I think I'm okay with this. Because even if he does that, the remote server falls apart. And op is already fired. We just want to keep the hot pursuit. That's fine. So now you have to Zato this. Not that it's doing a lot. I mean, we will probably do it because of the Kurapira farming it. But then if the remote server is just tithe, like whatever. So Gyro has to basically throw out the ice wall to keep an agenda. And even this, now you can't score an Atlas with a counter unless you have Seamless in hand. And then next turn we can brute force HQ. Oh. Okay. We get an agenda and a Kurapira counter? Oh. Interesting. Extract, very cool. So the question is, we couplate this? I think we do. We're now in game point, so the couplation can win the game. Oh, right. Yeah, I think Gyro forgot that we could take this Zato. Yeah. But now we have to basically get into HQ here. So we can run archives for a credit, and then we can hot pursuit HQ, credits willing, and then we can bypass the sandstone, which seems important. Op got rid of the tithe, so we're going to get a spin doctor. Sorry, Rashida. Ice, okay. So do you think there's an agenda in hand? Because we can see all the cards in hand. This deck's fun. Criminal's a lot of fun. I've always enjoyed aggro criminal. I like that this is not bypass based, which like take that Mercury. So here we can run archives for a credit, get the Kurapira. Then we can do credit, hot fursuit, and we can bypass the sandstone. The other option is we can just jailbreak HQ. It's fewer credits, but we got to see the whole hand. It's significantly fewer credits though. We can always just go back with a jailbreak. I think we will run archives. We can also just throw the couplation to see the whole hand on top of the fursuit. That might be fine. We probably want to keep the couplation for after the Rashida. What if we check for singles on R&D through a magnet? It costs so much money. Oh, I see what you're doing though. So here we can do credit fursuit, I think.
Gets a click back, which is nice. We see half the hand. We purge the sandstone. We have to remember to do that. I want to wait for after the Rashida. Okay. There's no after the Rashida. Good game. Only agenda in there? Yeah, we got locked out. We got really slowed down with all the cheap reses. Oh, there's two. Oh, no. There's two agendas in hand. So even if we didn't do our multi-access, we'll be fine. There's only 10 turns. Am I not alone in hearing hot fursuit? Yeah, no, it is. It's a bunch of the QTM folks have been calling it hot fursuit, which I think is just way fun, more fun. I'm hoping you wouldn't bite, but it's a good play. Yeah, I needed the hot pursuit or doof to get back into the game. Yeah, Stavka scary. Glad someone else asked other than me. It's so much funnier to be the hot fursuit. It's the person in the penguin. They're really warm. Thanks for the game. Hey, cheers. All right, I'm getting a bit hungry. I think we're gonna do another game. So far floating. Wait, I don't want to jinx it. Seth got in. QTM meme improved. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Wrong side. Didn't mean to pull the tablecloth. To pull the tablecloth from under you like that. I think Cephalopod's not surprised. Cephalopod, mind you, streamed. There was an AMT this weekend. There's like 8 players. This is 44 card Ismari. I'm actually more expecting it not to be a kill combo. I'm more expecting it to be Nottigan's list that he just published. This Ordina Liturgical Town, which is an Ismari deck that's like kind of Sparrow Brawler-esque. The idea is like floating tags is actually going to be pretty bad for us because this deck is on shipment from Vladisburst, Self-Growth Program, Market Forces, Economic Warfare, Snare, and Behold. It's just like a pretty big surprise if you're playing around anything else, but this deck can score out points with Seamless and Crypto Crash Degree Mill. So this is going to be a tricky matchup because tags matter. Ice, also Cloud Eater. I wanted to maybe play a deck like this. Like cards like Cloud Eater, cards like Hammer that give a tag are so much cheaper and are very, very frightening. The idea is that if you res a Cloud Eater, right, like what do you do? It's really hard to fire it because the tags just add up. It's pretty mean. This looks like a very Not Again deck. Yeah, kind of. I think Not Again was playing at the AMT and he was just still playing like hyper kind of glacier what's it called, outfit, and I never liked that deck. Prison Morph reporting in. I don't know, it's a sort of deck where you sit back and do nothing and just hope centrals hold, and it makes me really anxious to watch and to play. I think it did okay for him though. He's been playing a lot of outfit. I played games against him in person. So we have Boomerang for early pressure. Hoff Fursuit is just gonna suck. We want to play multiple events a turn because Asmari's gonna get 3,000 credits off of our ability. The Carmen's like not very good. We have a bit of card draw though. What about Kokas Asmari win alum? Rome? London? I don't know if I'm familiar with that. What is that? Deck list search. Shouldn't have closed that tab. That's probably relevant for our interests. Koga, when in Rome. Gatekeeper, Amaze, Tranquility. Okay, if we see a Tranquility, but this is like basically the same idea. Oh, but better citizens. Okay, I see why you brought that up. Yes. That's gonna be bad for us. This start actually does look like combo. Okay, so calling event, no surprise. So we'll just play a couple events in a turn. We have Boomerang Doof, not bad on this turn because we've already played an event, and playing Doof as the only event on a turn is kind of cursed. Now we're going to keep that for a remote push, but we'll try and find out if this is... Amaku is really good into Ismari kill combo. But the opening right now does look like Ismari kill combo. We'll see what card we see here. If it's a Behold, it's a Jua. The heck does that mean? Looking at lists. Looking at lists, no Jua. Looking at lists, not against, oops. What's wrong, Skywalker? You've turned off your targeting computer. This looks like it's combo. How many cards was it? 44. Okay, so maybe not. Cloud Eater is mean for sure, but I have a hard time paying when it's 10 cost. The thing is, Concord, if the subroutines fire, and they probably do, it's only 8 cost if you're playing, well, Reality Plus. But you're right, it's very expensive. Kamash, where's Arkham? What do you mean? Okay, naming event, card remotes, or it looks like a Rashida. It could just be actually like, I think you were going to do Boomerang Doof, but this could be like a seamless launch into something. So This gives 8 credits, but if you res the ice, you're probably on too few credits. So it makes the boomerang a bit awkward. And then we could probably run server 1. If it's Rashida, we want to trash it. We died a snare. We access cards. I don't think there's a table snare here. No further. Okay, so this will leave pod on 3 credits, which means we can run the remote server and see what happens. If it's a Jua, we lose one of these. That's whatever. We can put the boomerang back in our hand. It's a gatekeeper. Okay, so at least there is no money left. We'll have a Rashida fire. So this looks like it is just efficient. Some sort of mid-range Ismari. That's gonna fire. Now this is sick because we have the pursuit set up for next turn if this boomerang doesn't happen, and we get to maybe see some of the agendas going back. I have no doubt Cephalopod would be happy to shuffle some agendas back. Post-truth dividend. Huh. No, I was expecting. So this has to be Rashida. It's not a Rashida. So I don't think this is kill combo considering it's post-truth. So maybe this is just full combo. Oh, this is probably like fast advance. Like I know Nick Mason was playing a list like this at Worlds from Neon's Seamless. What happened? Okay, cool. King making. Sick. Let's go. Yeah, king making mad. I think that's right. Seth was playing king making super conducting hub a while back. Okay, so yeah, it's that sort of list. A lot of cards in hand, 0 credits. Does it have tag punishment? Yodel? Yeah, I think it's Yodel. I'm assuming it's on planogram, so floating the hot pursuit tag is like kind of suspect. I think we're gonna have to do it though. We want to not an Amakua here. We want a class act. I hear you. So I guess now we just do Manuel hot pursuit and just say the planograms are gonna be good. Might have greasing. Yeah, that would be bad. But what can you do? Conducting hub. Oh, okay. That's good. Take that, Yodel. Not only do we gain 2 credits, Cephal loses 2 credits on Yodel. That being said, like greasing is going to be a problem. Planogram is going to be a problem. Like floating a tag is not great. We're not on threat 3. Cephalopod should trash the Manuel. Maybe on 3 credits you can't. Second ice. Okay, so running this is really cheap with the Amakua, which is great. We're not going to try and play an event this turn. So I think we're just going to do Amakua, run server 1, run R&D. Gives us a lot of run. We're assuming one of these is the Jua. We could decide not to break this if we ever want to shuffle an R&D, which is good fun. So this could be like a wraparound or a ping. We did break both of, well, we break ping. It's a Rashida. Okay. Now we'll draw once for like a, I guess we're not going to play a run event. Yeah, I was just going to say. And then we can see 2 cards here, gain 2 credits and a leech and Amakua. Spin Doctor for 2. Yeah, we don't want that. King making. Oof. Okay. I don't think the deck's on 3-pointers, but Seth is at least drawing to unknown cards here. And now, hey, Manuel has text. He survived. Credit. Ice. Leech on 4. We break just about everything. I don't want to play the dirty laundry. Draw. I mean, we'll run R&D, run HQ. You can only res so much ice. Oh, wait, that one does fire. That's fine. We want to know where the agendas are. Really liking the Zahya deck? Me too. Gyro, good game, by the way. It's just kind of fun. It's just kind of really fun. You're going to have some really bad matchups, that's for sure. So no agendas went back into hand. So we're just going to go HQ here. We're assuming that there's a Yodel. But we're seeing 2 cards. Like, this could be the game. Unlikely. We're just not playing events. Yeah. Okay. We don't need Amakua. We have Leech. Just getting cards out of hand is nice because it deals with Yodel. But Planogram Yodel, you still have to build a remote server. And like, unless you have high strength ice or a virus, it's going to be really hard here to find a window to purge when you're on 1 credit. Don't mind that. I don't know what happened. Travakua. Spin, okay. Yodel, you have to do credit Yodel. 8 hand size, 7 credits. There's the digital life. So that is the big jump back. So now we have to force some ice reses. Gatekeeper on R&D is really risky because we can just force it back over and over again. At this point, we actually can consider dirty laundry, but I don't think we really need to. I'd rather find a jailbreak here. I mean, that is a lot of money. So Amakua on 5. I think here we run HQ, run R&D, and we just see the top of everything. Spin Doctor can shuffle, but if Seth reses, like, we just don't need to play. Can't install cards anymore. That's fine. Choose 2 installed runner cards. Okay, so we'll make that breakable. This puts us on Amakua on 2, which means we still break ping. Wraparound's a problem, but this is still boomeranged. And we're just going to see 2 on HQ, 2 on R&D. It's really hard to, again, hit at 17 is what we're trying to do. We're seeing 4 cards a turn. Sadyevna, she can be frightening. Subliminal, okay. We'll gain 2 this. We'll run R&D. Again, we can just run R&D over and over again, and you can force the shuffle, which is like not a place you want to be. Seamless, king making, okay. Do we force the shuffle? I don't think we actually want to give card draw to a Yodel deck, so we'll just go back to see a card. It's fine. Okay, so it's Tsarevna, Seamless on top of the deck. So there's one Tsarevna on top of R&D. Okay, never mind. So we know there's a Seamless. We're an Amako on 7. You need him a Virus. Manuel still not getting trashed. I feel like that's many cards in hand. It shouldn't be that hard to trash Manuel. It's more about the money. Man, Joyride into like diversion spam would be really fun here. Okay, in the money. So now we can consider playing Bravado on Dirty Laundry. Ice on R&D. Amaku Leech still has a lot of counters. The top deck was unknown because of the shuffle, so running HQ and Sing 2 is fine. And the thing is, like, where do you think the agendas are? I think there can easily be an agenda in HQ because Seth doesn't have a remote server. So it's not like you're probably going to put the agendas on the table. So they're probably going to stay in hand. So here, like, you probably trash the Manuel. Playing Subliminal, just getting a card out of hand. I think with Manuel, you actually don't want to play the Subliminal. Like, maybe one credit really matters. I'd be surprised. So I think we're just going to Bravado HQ to give Seth some money. C2, run R&D, C2, run R&D again. So this is an on and counter text that says the runner cannot install cards. So that's annoying, but we don't really have much installing to do here. Again, this is boomeranged. Still not being rezzed. Seamless, we knew that. Biotic, ooh, so money actually does matter. We need diversions here. So this is probably like greasing, biotic, subliminal, sudden commandments. That's a problem. We need to trash those. So now I think we'll dirty laundry R&D. If this gets stuffed, it's whatever. But we just need to force Seth to spend money. Looks like that's a big one. That's a Piranhas. High strength. Bad publicity is going to do so much more for us. So we are just going to break that. Piranhas has a... Sorry, I can't show you Piranhas because I have to click this button. But Piranha has some good subroutines. It's really good into Amakua. We're going to fully break all of it. Oh, it removed the tag. Oh, that's sick. We removed the tag so when you see a single card. Oh, wait, that's a really cool interaction. Hey, Blurby. Yeah, we don't have bad publicity. We just don't have a tag anymore. That sucks. I really wanted the bad publicity. So seeing a single card frown. We got to figure out how to get a tag, which shouldn't be that hard, right? So I think we can draw up here. We can dirty laundry HQ for a single, but we know half the hand. So let's just try and find a tag card. That's good. Swift would have been really good right now. So we know there's Hedge Fund. We know the hand is Sarievna might be on archive. So it's Hedge Fund, Sarievna, Biotic, Seamless. So let's just keep up. Seth might purge this turn. That's the thing that we have to watch out for. If there's a purge here, we actually want to get the Carmen down. Unfortunately, Carmen breaks Jua for like 3 credits. But I think we're going to... Oh, we can't install cards. Shit. Like, there's a chance now they ice on everything that Seth will purge. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, this is not amazing because we can still like farm Gatekeeper. Ideally, we farm Archives. And I'm assuming this run on Archives here is probably the Sarievna. If that's the case, we can just hard cast Carmen and then Bravado HQ. I think that might be fine. Yeah, I think that's probably fine. We're giving 2 credits, but we just want to keep the pressure on. Again, Seth has a lot of work to do. We can also just let Jua fire. It's honestly not that bad, but we want to keep Amakua on the table. This is still boomeranged. It's a wraparound. Okay. Wow. That could have been res a long time ago. That's really hard for us to deal with. We won't fully break. We'll break 2. Sudden command. We have to trash that. Gain a credit. Oh, actually, we might not be right to gain a credit there because we might jailbreak. I don't think we would jailbreak here. So now we know Archives is Sarievna. Sarievna does damage and draws cards. I think we dirty laundry Archives are pretty fine. Actually, it could be a wraparound, but I'm pretty sure it's a Sarievna. So we know there's a Biotic. We just need to get counters. And we do gaining counters. Oh, trashing doesn't give us an Amakua. That's worth keeping in mind. We can keep our hand size up to be Piranhas. Removing the tag was the worst thing that Seth could have done for us. That's really, really funny. We could just run this and assume it's the Piranhas. I think that's better than committing the dirty laundry. You can take a tag off then smiling. I think we will, Ba. I think if you res this, yeah, we'll probably take the tag, which is super funny. Declines to use this. Okay. So we're going to break just 2 subroutines on it. And now we can farm Archives. Fully break with Boomerang, fully breaks Boomerang on Jaina. Yeah, I know. That's what we've learned, London. It's good to figure out why that is. So we'll take the tag. Allows another Piranhas, but we just don't want these to happen. And then we're just going to dirty laundry back. Well, are we going to float infinite tags? I don't know, but that's such a funny interaction. If we float infinite tags, Seth can't clear all our tags. I don't think this deck is on tag punishment. Like, it's probably not on a shipment from Vlad Grid. All right. So that purge, we did undo it by just forcing a bunch of reses. The wraparound on our HQ is the best ice so far. Piranhas we can't break just yet. But now we're back to seeing a lot of cards. Yeah, I think Plano is going to happen when gone. That's going to be the worst case. So there's Seamless in the deck, so we have to run this. This should be relatively cheap. Wraparound will stop us, but that'll stop Cephalopod probably. I think we'll just play this. Okay, so we have a fursuit. We have no way of beating wraparound. We want to jailbreak this turn because we see a lot of cards. Hey, Stab, welcome back. So I think we just run this for 2. We've already played Event. Huh. So we can run Saryevna, break it, and then we can just, that'll be at 4-3. We can Hot Pursuit HQ. Yeah, the other option is Jailbreak R&D, which is also fine. If this is a Mavirus, it's pretty bad for us. This deck might need to play Mavirus. I think we will just go here and then Jailbreak because it makes money, right? It's good. We probably could consider running this because we're worried about Seamless, but I think we're just going to Jailbreak. This puts us on 7. We'll go R&D here. We know half the hand, so the Jailbreak feels a bit worse, but this sees a lot of cards. So looks like no Mavirus, that's good. Amakua, we break all this, right? Draw a card, do 1 net damage. We like our hand. You may draw a card. We don't want Seth to draw. And the run, yeah, we'll just break it. Money's not great. We're going to need a Pursuit here. Break the first 2. Oh, yeah, sorry, you're right. Very good catch. I thought it was equal or greater. It's not, it's just greater. So we don't have to break the last one. Very, very good. You always want to be careful about that sort of stuff. All right, just draws a card. Spin Doctor. Okay, so now there's 2 unknowns in HQ. Spin Doctor's going to be shuffling in just non-stuff. Also, the fact that we're running every turn turns off Subliminal. I think keeping the Subliminal is like pretty valuable. So Sudden Commandment goes back because Sudden Commandment to Subliminal is like very good. If we're running every turn, you lose your Subliminal. Okay, that's the game. So you have no wraparound, gain 3. Oof, just pressure. Very cool deck on the Corp side though. It's probably pretty fun if it explodes, but very maybe a bit soft to just a lot of central pressure. I was worried about planograms. But the Piranhas res to remove the tag was hilarious and shut down Manuel entirely. Could the Doctor have been res in between the breaking of the subs and the firing of the subs? Yes. No. Yes and no. You can fire it, but you have to res it on approach. So very importantly, the corp. Okay, so the answer is actually strictly no. To explain how it is, and Cephalopod would love to explain this if it's in chat. But the idea is that you can only res corp cards during approach. So during approach, the paid ability window, that's where you can res ice, of course, but that's also the only window where you can res assets and upgrades. So if you don't res a Spin Doctor on approach, you can't surprise someone. So you can't say on encounter, because you're right. Once you break subroutines, that's a paid ability window, and then you pass it back to your opponent, and then they can react to that. And then after they do something, it passes back to you, and you can decide to break more subroutines. So in theory, if there was like some sort of paid ability that could draw cards, then like, so be it, like maybe a panic button for the old heads, but you can't res cards during an encounter. I would think you could res it, but you can't keep breaking it. No, you can't res cards. Hey, cheers. I'm back. Aspiration definitely squirting and making me no luck there. Yeah, sorry, Cephalopod. This rules question came up, and it's very important. I think the time that you see this rules violated the most, this rules violation, is when somebody runs into a drafter. So the idea is that if you run into a drafter, the drafter subroutine might fire if the runner decides not to break it, or I don't know. And then a lot of times runners will say it'll fire. And then in response, before the subroutines are fire, the corporation will res a Tranquility Home Grid because they're going to install something in a remote server and let the Tranquility Home Grid fire. You can't do that. Whenever you're encountering ice, the corporation can't res any cards. You can only res cards during the approach. So if you think the Piranha Spin Doctor is going to matter, if you think the Tranquility Drafter is going to fire, you have to res all that stuff immediately. Keep that in mind. Also, brawn and spin to find ice. Oh, that's also a really good one. Yeah. Or spin into Tattoo Bola. That's another very common one. You can't do that. So the runner says, like, I'm going to go through the Tattoo Bola. You can't respond by resing a spin doctor to find ice. You have to do that before. That's a very common one as well. That's a good shout out. Res window and paid ability windows are slightly different. No, it's technically still a paid ability window. It's just that every paid ability window has declarations of what you can and can't do in them. So for instance, not all paid ability windows can you score agendas. Firstly, mostly they're on the corp turn and you can't do it during the last paid ability window on the corporation's turn during the discard phase. But also certain paid ability windows, you can't res cards. Very notably, the approach window is the only window that you can res ice, but on encounter, you can't res cards. Yeah, you have P, R's, and S, yeah. How's it going, by the way, Harp? You have paid abilities, normal paid abilities, res windows, and score windows, and PRSs change on different paid ability windows. It's like not easy to learn, unfortunately, but it has actually pretty big implications. The paid ability window in which subroutines are broken are for card abilities only. Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah. Sorry for late response. Wife wanted to talk, but thank you for the review offer, but I mostly play in person. Bummer. Okay, Shockwave. We're gonna be putting up more content in the near future that shows like System Gateway and like smaller card pools playing if that's what you play, and hopefully from replay reviews if you ask questions or maybe there's something you can learn from it that will help you. But yeah, the sneaky one is the score window before draw, which is a real edge case can win the game before you deck out. Yeah, that one's really, really, really edge case, Cobalt. I think the only way, so there's only one scenario in which I think the paid ability window to score an agenda before start a turn trigger happens actually matters. And that is a hybrid release. So in theory, say you're playing like Personal Evolution and you mitosis the hybrid release or whatever. You have this on the table, okay? And it has 2 advancements on it. During the paid ability window at the start of turn before start of turn, you can score the hybrid release, which means you may install a face down card from archives. So we're playing Personal Evolution, so scoring the agenda does 1 damage. And then using hybrid release, you could go grab something like a Reaper function. Then you can still res the Reaper function, and then start a turn trigger can happen, and that can do like 3 damage. That is one of the few interactions where scoring an agenda before start of turn actually makes sense. There's maybe folks can think of other ones. Like maybe there's a chance that scoring an SZF at start of turn trigger does something cool with op. That one you can argue in many cases, like same idea. You could AZF, score it at start of turn, trash a 2 coster to get a Reaper. Or is it a 3 coster, I think, to get a Reaper? Like that also works. 4 coster, excuse me. Anything that adds counters on runner turn, Prav, Aket, Odoroshi, or any agenda with variable score requirements. That allows you to do it easily, but yeah, it doesn't incentivize you to score it at that window. Yeah, Prav the Voice is a good shout out. How do you explain paid ability windows to newbies? Example, it's like saying you can score agendas at any time, but that's not technically true. So I have a whole video up, Concord, on the channel. The problem is it's 40 minutes, which like talk about the Metropole Grid doing things too long. At least it's thorough, but I do have a video on my channel where we go through the entirety of the paid ability windows. It's not easy to learn. It's down here, Netrunner timing structures, okay? What I can say is that basically between every action that anyone takes, there's generally a paid ability window. And how it works is the active player can choose to do something. Then, regardless, they have to pass it to their opponent. Their opponent can do something in response. And it trades back and forth until 2 people consecutively pass. Which means most paid ability windows just immediately close because it's technically your paid ability window. Before your first click, you say nothing, and then your opponent does nothing and the window closes. That being said, the only fiddliness when it comes to what you can do with certain paid ability windows are generally like culturally context sensitive. Like you probably learn really quickly you can't score agendas on your opponent's turn. That's just strange. You don't see anybody doing it. There's a reason why. And things like you can't res stuff during encountering ice. That's a tricky one. But besides that, you can basically do anything at any paid ability window. There's paid ability windows at like nearly every step of a run that matters. There's paid ability windows before and after every click. There's paid ability windows before you start your turn and right before you end your turn. And so a lot of people don't actually need to know where they all are, but vibes based gets you through like 99% of the time. There's just like some really strange interactions that someone hopefully will correct you on. And again, if you're ever playing organized play, just say judge and ask a question before it happens or in response to it happening. It is more complicated for rules completeness, but for most people, just realize you can do most anything at most paid ability windows. Someone in the chat's gonna be really upset because that's like obviously not entirely accurate, but for like 90% of use cases, that is like functionally correct. So Cephalopod will probably know better. I mean, if we're here, we can come up with a lot of reasons. I got advancements on runner's turn and I want to fire powers at B to get something for the start of turn. Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah, that's very op coded. Scoring a 7 before you lose to mandatory draw from an empty deck, which requires you to have Odoroshi or Mitosis or something. Yeah, you're right. Advances have to happen mid-turn on the runner's turn largely. Probably similar with Elevagar to D-res and re-res in time for triggers. Oh, that's a really cool one too. Yeah, that's a good shout out. I've never seen anyone do it, but in theory, you can score an Elevagar. During start of turn to unres to re-res. Nobody does that, but you can do it. You score this for Genesis to not deck out? Guess so. P would love to score on the runner's turn. Yeah. Kat, by the way, hopefully you're feeling better. I dipped in a bit into your homework and I looked at it. I'd be like, there's a big reason I got like I think a D+ or a C- in probabilistics in university. And now I do content about probabilistics on YouTube. So hopefully it's doing well. I think D helped you out really great. Hopefully you're feeling better, huh? It's a great simple explanation. It's like honestly that simple. The Netrunner rules documents I think are pretty approachable, but it's basically at any point in time there's a paid-ability window until someone tells you there's not. About to run that snare, score Sting, if only. The math makes a lot more sense once I got some sleep. Oh, okay, good. Yeah. That's the weird thing about probabilistics. It's like intuitively you can do it very wrong, and then you can see how it's done correct, and you're like, oh, that does also make a lot of sense. Probability's hard. Here's an interesting one. You can't res between passing ice and jacking out steps, but you can use paid abilities. Oh shit, yeah. That one might matter. I think the easiest thing is during runs, you can only res during approaches. That's the easiest one to keep in mind. But yeah, I do think you're right. The passing window does not have a paid ability to res, which like, fuck, that might matter. Fire weaponization on runner's turn. Yeah. Notably too, also anything that's terminal ends your turn. And if something ends your turn with terminal, you can't score out agendas. That does matter in some very specific cases, but that's the big reason why, I guess it wouldn't be X terminal, right? It would be S terminal. That's the big reason why specifically cards like looking, where is it? Big deal says you can score it out. Because in theory, once your action phase ends, you can't score out agendas. This one says you can't though. I think it comes up in one instance where like you might want to play terminal. I think in theory, like you can't specifically bring them home to get cards out of their hand and then kill them by scoring an agenda. That's probably an example. So say you have an agenda that when you score it does 4 damage because you have a tag and you're playing Orbital Superiority and Personal Evolution does 5 damage. You can't bring them home. Terminal, they have 2 cards in hand, flatline them. So just watch out. You can't do things after terminals. Oppo to freedom. Oh, that's the one that comes up. I know there's one that comes up all the time, but you can't Oppo research someone to give them 4 tags and then interact with an agenda that cares about tags. And the big one is freedom of information. So watch out. We spent a lot of time determining what could be done in the window when redoing the run timing. It involves things like value, House of Knives, self-destruct after ice fires. I know I've died to like House of Knives more than once. I've died to House of Knives. What's the name of the dog? Oh man, what's going on? What's the name of the big dog that does your hand size worth of damage? Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you could trigger board control after the subroutines are broken before they are resolved, you can do it. Komainu, thank you. Hey, salut, Antoine. I know I've gone through Komainu with no cards at hand, and then before you can jack out, there's a paid ability window where they can do a single knife damage to you, House of Knives. Okay, this is a fun one too, and a lot of people forgot this. Even like really experienced players, I don't think realize this for a long time. Okay, so say you're playing Op, right? And Op gives you value when you trash your installed cards. So once per turn when you trash a card, that's rezzed. You can go get a card that costs 1 less than on the table. We played a bunch of Op today. It's very good, obviously. So the idea is if you have a border control rezzed on that server that the runner is running, at any point in time in any paid ability window, you can trash this to end the run, and then Op can fire, which is obviously icing on top of that. But what people I just didn't do for like the first year that Op existed is that Envelopment was a card that saw a lot more play earlier in Op's existence. And when you res Envelopment, it gets 4 power counters, and then when your turn begins, it removes 1. And this ice gains extra end the run subroutines for every power counter on it, but the last subroutine is trash this ice. So the idea is that the former subroutines protect that last subroutine. Now, it wouldn't be uncommon for a runner to run into an Envelopment and break the 4 end the runs on the turn it's rezzed, and then say, I will let unbroken subroutines resolve, which will trash that ice. And that will trigger Op for what it's worth, but at least the Envelopment is gone. Let's say that's a good trade. Now, in theory, because breaking subroutines is a paid ability, you have to pass back to priority to the corporation. So the runner goes into development. They say, okay, it's my paid ability window. I'll hold priority. I'll interface by boosting strength, and I'll break 4 subroutines. And then I say, I'm done. And then it technically passes back to the corporation. And now the corporation here can do paid ability window stuff. They can't res cards, but they can do paid abilities. And once the corporation does nothing, then 2 players have consecutively passed, and then the breaking subroutines paid ability window closes, and then the subroutines that haven't been broken resolve. Now, That means, though, after the runner has broken the subroutines and they pass priority to the corporation can say, okay, I will respond by border controlling. And then the run's over. And so the subroutines don't resolve. And so the runners spend all the money breaking the envelopment, but the envelopment still survives for the next couple turns. And then obviously op fires as well, which is kind of sick. Nobody did that interaction for such a long time. But remembering breaking subroutines is a paid ability window. And technically after every paid ability window, you have to pass priority to the other player. The thing is, like 99% of the time, passing back to the corporation after you break subroutines wasn't relevant. Unless the corporation had a card that could like suddenly add subroutines. And there are a couple of them in the format, I think. I'm not sure. I call this the Jeff window. Yeah, me too. It's really fun. I know Jeff was talking about this a bunch. There's a video called Clot Windows and You. Yeah, that's Sanjay's video. Clot Windows and You. I haven't seen it in a long time, but Sanjay put together like a PowerPoint. Sanjay's fantastic. Talking about paidability windows, particularly when it comes to like, what's it called? I'll give this a like. Clot and responding to Clot, which is very often how people learn about paidability priority. JNet misleads you with indicate to fire subs. One forgets the corp gets to respond. I think JNet and the structure of the game does a lot of things that are kind of misleading. Like, I really don't like that JNet has a button that says mandatory draw. And when you hit the mandatory draw, it doesn't do mandatory draw. It does start a turn triggers. Like, why is the do start a turn triggers button called mandatory draw? It makes no sense. And it's been like that forever. I hope at some point it changes because it is just like a semantic issue. But you don't hit mandatory draw because then people think you do your mandatory draw before you do your start of turn triggers. It should be like fire start of turn triggers, then go to mandatory draw. But you know what I mean? Kind of matters. Mandatory draw only appears if you have unres cards with start of turn triggers. That gives you a last chance. I don't think so. I think it always says mandatory draw. Warden Fatima. Oh, Warden Fatima won't work. Because Cobalt, you fell into the trap. Is you can't res Warden Fatima during an encounter. Because you can't res cards during encounters. So Warden Fatima specifically does not work. The runner can't break all the subroutines and then you can say, I'm going to res a Warden Fatima because you can't res cards during an encounter. That's actually a very good example of where people could mess this up. But if you had a card like, there was a Wayland card that could at an instant ability add subroutines to a card by trashing cards from your hand, something like that. I forget. You said, are there any cards that add subs? Oh, okay. That's true. There are cards that add subs, but we need one that is done by not resing, but on encounter text speed, which I believe there was a Wayland upgrade that did that. I'm not sure what it was. Anything that doubles subroutines. There were a couple cards that did that, I think. Sub growth program is much less satisfying when you play it and then have to convince your opponent that you can, in fact, bounce their one installed card. Do as much as possible. It doesn't say if able, right? Funny as a newbie, I thought mandatory draw made sense until I learned about paid ability windows. Now I just frequently get the warning saying I have to start turn triggers that I missed. It's one way to learn it. Like, I'm glad they just had least warnings. It's just like not great. Sub boost? Oh, sure. But I want a card that at instant speed during any paid ability window can add a subroutine. This is not it. Like, sub boost will already be there, right? There has to be a card that adds subroutines. I think there was like a Wayland upgrade that was like super niche that did it. Hold on. I guess we're finding it. F Wayland. That works, right? T upgrade. If you res an Anoetic Void, you can use it to save envelopment. No, because Anoetic Void is a breach step. And so this is another term that I do think is slightly clumsy. This fires when the runner approaches this server. So you can't. Approaches a server means they've passed all the ice. So they've already done dealing with envelopment. Now, something that you can do that's similar to that is that if you have a Biovault with 2 advancements, as long as the Biovault has already been rezzed during the approach, again, you can't res Biovault during an encounter because you can't res cards during encounters. If a Biovault was pre-rezzed, the runner could break all the subroutines on envelopment, and then you could say, in response, I'll trash this to end the run to protect your envelopment. But you can't res a Biovault, and specifically Anoetic Void only happens at the same window Manigarm Skunkworks happens, which is right before the runners pass, right after the runners pass all that ice and they're about to see what's in the remote server. Kusanagi, that's it. Oh, is it? That's a good one though. I think that's what we're looking for. This is good. Yeah, this is exactly what we're looking for. Hosted agenda counter, choose 1 piece of ice to gain the do 1 net damage subroutine after all other subroutines for the remainder of this run. I know there's another Wayland card that does it, but this is a fantastic shout out. Really good find. But the idea is that if the runner, like how this works is the runner breaks the ice on the subroutine and then passes priority, and then the corporation could choose to add a subroutine, but then because you did a paid ability window, it passes back to the runner. The runner can just break that subroutine you have added. They don't have to interface again. Interface, I believe, lasts for the entirety of the encounter. I'd be surprised if it's any other way. But yeah, that is a good one that you can add a subroutine and then respond to it. Overscoring a Kusanagi was actually important, Cobalt. There was weird combo decks where get a Kusanagi as a 3-1, or sorry, as a 3-0 was important because you just had to add one subroutine to like an infinite ice. At some point, that was actually worth pursuing. It was really nasty into MK Ultra. Oh yeah, that's true. Tron, how's it going? Anything that like boosted and broke really ugly. Like forcing him to do it again sucked. How in person do you give the runner the opportunity to jack out normally? You have Anoetic but don't want to reveal too early? Oh, how do you do it? Simplest way, I always ask this regardless of the board state. Doesn't matter what my deck is doing. It doesn't matter what the cards on the table. Always before the runner's going to make any successful run and they've passed eyes, I always very clearly look at them and ask, do you want to access? And then the opponent looks at me and be like, yeah, I want to access R&D. There's no upgrades. Why are you asking me, you weirdo? And I don't give a shit. Anytime the runner's about to access cards, you say, do you want to access? And as soon as they say, yes, I want to access, that means they can no longer jack out. And that is the final window in which I'll say, okay, I will res my Managarm. I'll res my Anoetic. Then once you res, the opponent can respond to that. In theory, they have the first paid ability window because they're running on their turn. So they have to do something first if they want to before you res your Managarm, if that does matter. I don't think it really does. But I always 100% of the time ask, anytime the runner's making any successful run, even if it's nonsense, I say, do you want to access? Just so they can consent to it. So I never end up in a situation where there's a problem. And I just say access, they say yes. And that means we've entered the step where I can res my breach stuff. Continue is a nice one. I think access is slightly more clear, but continue is another good one. Be like, continue. And they say yes. I just think access particularly aligns with the wording of step 4.3 and whatever the timing structure. Cyber Sand Harvester. Cyber Sand Headbester. For my first attempt. Wait, one exists? What does heart? Complete the 2-credit instant pop card you can only play in standard. Oh, what? Wait, what? I think I'm missing something. So also you can pretend you're in Billions. Yes, that is a really good point. So you can pretend that you're in Billions. Would you like to access Adonis campaign? Again, all the political operative pay to win one was upcoming on Sunday. Oh yeah, that's true. Do you want to access? Would you like to know more? Yeah, Billions TV show. This is like, for those who don't know, Billions was this TV show and it had a scene in which people go in New York to this very fancy, I guess we're going to play it, very fancy Netrunner thing. And they're playing FFG Netrunner. This was like screened to a lot of people on television. Of course it has. What's really funny is the people who did this actually consulted. And so Dan D'Argenio, the world champion at the time, was here. And a bunch of the people in the background are actually Netrunner players from the New York City scene. And it's really funny is that these two actors, one of them, this is, I want to say Mike Birbiglia. I forget the name of the other actor. But they're in a lot of stuff too, are playing Netrunner, and they make it to a place like, I think this actually cuts the clip where there's like somebody at the door and there's a guest list and they're drinking wine. If you haven't seen this, definitely watch it. There's technically a clip that's longer than this, and everything they're doing is technically Netrunner accurate, but it's just like a very silly board state, and they're very clear with their language. This is the other actor. It's very, very funny, but there's a lot of like, do you want to access? And they make it as like suave and sexy as possible. It's very, very funny. Also, sometimes you just win because people decide not to access after you ask. CTZ had a whole stream where they asked, are you sure? And got away with absolute murder. Yep. That's what I also do. I always ask cards in hand and do you want to access, even when it doesn't matter, because it does kind of confuse people in a way that I don't think is toxic. Asya K. Dillon, thank you, Changeling. Friend loves the show, but just started NR. Oh, they'll find it at some point. I don't know what season it is. I haven't seen Billions, but I've seen this clip many times because it's very, very funny. And they did consult with the Netrunner community, which is sick. And then after that, I remember there was posts like years later of somebody on our Netrunner being like, hey, I have all these playmats and tokens because we bought them for, I was working on I was working on a TV show back in like 2016. And so we bought all these playmats and now we're getting rid of them. And it's because they worked on the Billions set, which is just really funny. There was a last year when they were selling playmats. Yeah. Bold. Yeah. Bold is a very good line from there. Anyways, check that out if you haven't. It's like very, very charming. Anywho, I think that's going to be it for today. We've had a pretty big stream today. We're gonna be working on some more video content again. I put a video out yesterday. You might have seen it. It's a bit long, but I do think overall it turned out really nice. Just doing like a 101 deck building stuff for specifically newer players when it comes to System Gateway. It's a bit thorough. You don't have to watch it all at once. I wouldn't recommend it. I watch it at 2x speed. I can understand myself. That might not be the case. But we're going to continue this series. The next video will be a fair bit shorter because we don't have to explain everything. We'll be building a runner deck. I also redid all the thumbnails for this whole series because I didn't like the backgrounds, and they're nicer now, I think. I don't know if you noticed. But yeah, it's a good video. Oh, thank you, Harp. That's very kind. I need to respond to some comments. The feedback's been really good. I know there's a lot of people getting to the game, and I think this is going to be a relevant video forever. So I'm glad to finally get something like that up there. I did watch it at increased speed. Yeah, rightfully so hard. Don't feel bad for that. Do you know what YouTube just added just in time for this video? Is they added a button here that you can go here and then you can go, oh, I guess you can't do it right now, but there's a button, at least on my phone, that basically says like, turn this video off and put my phone to sleep when it's done, or like turn it off in 30 minutes or whatever. And the short or long is like, just to be able to fall asleep, which like, that's so funny. I know I do often put like a stream or something on my phone if I'm falling asleep, and it's good that'll just, yeah, the sleep timer they just added, which is a great feature, just in time for an hour and 40-minute video. Probably not available there because it's an ad. Yes, probably just because it's an ad, not because it's desktop. I think you can do it on desktop. Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. Thanks so much for hanging out on the stream. We're supported on Patreon. It gives me the time to hang out on a Tuesday afternoon to do all the editing, to all the live streaming, the motion graphics, all the video stuff. It's a lot of time goes on behind here to make Netrunner content and hopefully make everyone as excited and get as much out of this game as I think is possible. If you want to consider supporting the channel, again, you can find a link always in the description. These are just a fair few of the names that support the Metropole Grid on Patreon. We also have a daily cast tier. It is incredibly appreciated to all the folks who support the channel at any level. So if you want to support content like this, you can find a link below. It's incredibly appreciated. It's not necessary, mind you. And if you just want to take a second, otherwise, to support the channel by just leaving a like on the stream, I promise you it helps a heck of a lot. It's super, super appreciated. Consider supporting Mitch while strongly. Thank you, Eric. Oof, I'm too late. Oh, sorry, David. You can rewind the VOD. It was a really fun stream. We just played Aggro Criminal and had a great time. We'll be back on Thursday. We're going to be doing some content, I think, next weekend. Thursday might be a bit of a quieter stream because I know Americans are doing Thanksgiving stuff. But next weekend, we might have some guests on stream on like a Saturday or something, just to do maybe review some Worlds gameplay. I'll confirm that sooner to when it's the case. Also, next month is like the fun, goofy formats month. So there's a lot of stuff going on every weekend. If you want to get involved when it comes to Null Signal Games stuff, I will be doing some casting specifically for the RAM tournament that Cold Lava is putting on, which will be fun. I'm not sure how to structure that because there's like a 2-hour gap. We might do some deck building on stream, which is really fun. Consideration intensifies. But that's mostly it. Again, we put up a video up yesterday and we'll be back on Thursday as well. We'll have some video content coming up. Hopefully next Monday, we'll do the runner side. Thanks for hanging out. Ciao.